Hello everyone, this is Tactical Lich here, and it's been a while since I last streamed. Well, unfortunately I had to deal with a bunch of IRL stuff, so didn't really have the time to make live content. But thankfully I stored up a lot of pre-recorded videos, so that sustained my uploading schedule for quite a while, and soon we'll be moving on to the Chaos Dwarf DLC. But before that, we do have a little bit of a tournament casting right here. This is the Ladies Quest 2 tournament hosted by the ODM clan. So basically they invited me to cast some of the replays, and since it is only me and Human Boy who are doing land battle replays, we don't actually manage to cast most of the replays before the DLC comes out. So I'll be doing a bunch of group stage replays today, and tomorrow Human Boy seems to be planning to cast the stage of 16 replay. So that's gonna be more intense, more high caliber. After eliminating some of the players, yep, the strong will remain, and the weak shall be. As the weak were defeated. But yeah, before that we'll be going through some of the more preliminary rounds, and this is what we're going through today. And yeah, basically I just want to cast these replays before we move on to the Chaos Dwarf DLC, because the patches are just gonna take a whole lot longer to update, and switching between patches to cast replays is gonna be a whole other can of worms. So here we are. Starting with, I basically downloaded all the replays, and we're just gonna pick out some interesting to cast, since we do have a bit of time limit here and we can't just cast everything in one go. So here we go. First of all, we have Alfredino versus Bjorn. Now this game actually is cast by Human Boy on his video channel, so we're not gonna look at this, but we do have a Lizardmen versus Dark Elf replay, so let's hop in. I haven't checked out any of these replays beforehand, so I don't know. I actually do not know the outcome of these combat, but yeah, we'll just kind of roll with it and see what happens. Plus, I'm just also testing part of my internet setup these days. I recently just moved, which is also part of the reason why I didn't really do much stuff on stream. So yeah. But, oh shit, I forgot I turned off the, yeah, I totally turned off the the debugging camera. Anyways, now, for the army builds here, I think this is, we have Lizardmen versus Dark Elves. Lizardmen going for a front line of skink skirmishers, backed up by a line of skink cohorts. At the back, we have some feral cold ones, mixed in with cold one spear riders. A lot of armor-piercing cavalry, trying to counteract the Dark Elf forces, just trying to go for a full-on rush with 3 more armor-piercing air cavalry in the skies. Colossodon hunters plus 2 regular projectile riders. And the front, you can see that the Cheese Runner Chariot is already skirmishing against the skink skirmishers. That's a lot of skirmishing. But also a single Slaanesh Priest of Life supporting this fight, providing a lot of healing in the form of Earth Blood. And there's also Flesh to Stone, which actually synergizes well with the Colossodon no? Not these guys. I mean, they still synergize well, because stacking with the missile resistance, that's gonna be 75% missile resistance against physical missiles, which actually counteracts the Scourge Runners. But either ways, the front line Scourge Runners shooting at the skink skirmishers, a horrible trade for these very expensive skirmishing chariot. They have very limited ammo, only 24 shots for the entire unit, so six shots per unit model, and they're already using up quite a bit shooting at, well, skinks. Pretty cheap, and also they're not large targets, so a lot of that damage output is wasted on them. We'll be fast forwarding a bit as the Lizardman pushes up, while the Dark Elves pull back, as they do not want to just go straight into engagement just now. Over here, Malekith getting some chip damage from the skink skirmishers here. He does have a lot of armor and missile resistance. He also has physical resistance, actually tanking out, ignoring 40% of that damage, plus the armor mitigation, so not a lot of damage. Plus, they are not the chameleon skinks, so the armor piercing on these skink skirmishers are rather limited. Now on the side, Khorne Knights pulling in, but seeing so many Khorne Spear Riders in Khorne, yeah, they're just not going in just yet. In the front line, Scourge Runner Chariots, a little bit of Miss Micro here, allowing the Skink cohorts to just open it up at the Scourge Runners. In the front line, Bleak Swords got routed by the Skink cohorts. Not sure who attacked. Perhaps the Ripper Dactyl charged in. Perhaps? Or maybe they just got shot hard by the Javelins and whatnot. But yeah, it seems that the skirmishing is still on right now. Javelins chugging at the Black Aquasils. Not the worst target, but not the best either, since they do have heavy armor. Malekith drops in. All the Javelins are going into the Black Aquasils and Bleak Swords. Perhaps it's better to just shoot at Malekith, but it's not like there's... Yeah, it's a whole lot of mess in the frontline engagement. As you can see here, more and more Dark Elf units pouring into the front line. Colossal Hunters and the Ripper Dactyls are diving in, hoping to stem the tide and allow some of these Skink cohorts to pull back, but they themselves need to be careful as they're taking some damage. Actually, no. Flash to Stone, upgraded version, giving the Colossal Hunters a total of 19 seconds. 19 seconds? Oh, shit. That's like over half a minute of physical resistance, but Soul Stealer does ignore that kind of physical resistance and directly drain away the health of all these units. And as you can see here, some of these Feral Khornes are already breaking, but that came at the cost of one Khorne Knight being destroyed. On the other side, the Lizardman player is also flooding in more and more mobility units, overloading the Dark Riders, and now saturating on top of the Bleak Sword. But Malekith is still very healthy, and it's going to be a tough nut to crack in the late game, as he is just threatening all kinds of Lizardman units, terror routing the Feral Khornes and then completely routing them. The Skink skirmishers will be counter-firing, but their damage output is really limited. Although good news is that the mobility forces on this flank is completely routed. Actually, no, wait. Other than the Khorne Dread Knights, everything else is completely routed and leaving some Dark Riders running away from any kind of mobility threat. While over here, Bleak Swords have pushed through. While the Lizardman forces, seeing that they have already routed the Dark Riders on this flank, they are pulling back the Feral Khornes, and Ripper Dactyls do not want to engage in a Bleak Swords buff up by the Murderous Prowess. Over here, the Khorne Dread Knights are still holding down to 7 unit models for less than 300 HP, and they're soon going down, but not before blobbing up all kinds of Lizardman mobility, allowing a very juicy Soul Stealer to drain away their health, topping up Malekith's health as well. And as you can see here, the Ripper Dactyls, despite their Flood topping up their health, they are getting drained pretty severely and are routed by the presence of Malekith himself. Now, there are still some Khorne Spear Riders and the Ripper Dactyls surrounding, gooning Malekith. Balance of power is in the favor of Lizardmen, and yeah, looking at the Scourge Runners, their ammo is rather limited right now, down to the last few shots, and they're shooting at Khorne Spear Riders. Not the worst target, I suppose, but a lot of ammo wasted on the Skink skirmishers did hurt them a lot. While over here, Malekith cannot beat back the Colossal Hunters. This is indeed an elite anti-large armor-piercing unit, perfect for hunting down large monsters like Malekith, and with Malekith routed and nothing to save him from the skies, the Dark Elf player will be giving up. Hello, Fat Kid, everybody says. Thank you. We're getting there. Hopefully we can get some Chaos Dwarf stuff, Chaos Dwarf content soon, and perhaps we can start pushing for that 1K mark. But yeah, right now, we're still gonna work on some of the older patch stuff before we move on to the next DLC. As you can see here, the balance of power, not the balance of power, the post-battle screen. Colossal Hunters did very well, surrounding Malekith and beating him down with that anti-large armor piercing. Ripper Dactyl Riders, not so much for this one. They're just kind of beating back some of the Dark Riders and then pulling back. While these guys took a lot of damage from the Soul Stealer and being surrounded, but overall still did pretty well. Not quite enough to earn back their value, but solid job regardless. Khorne Spear Riders, not much to talk about. They actually got overwhelmed by the more elite Khorne Knights and Khorne Dread Knights. And Malekith himself, of course. Feral Khornes, they're kind of bad, so not much to say about them. Skink cohorts did okay. Skink skirmishers did okay. And Malekith, actually, usually he does great, but actually this time, being surrounded by its dedicated anti-large armor-piercing units, Yeah, he can't fight through this. No matter how much Soul Stealer you have, it's just not enough recovery to deal with the outburst, damage outburst from the Colossal Dawn Hunters. And a very nice use of the Flash to Stone spell, allowing the Colossal Dawn Hunters to tank out the initial shock damage from the Dark Elf mobility, helping them survive into the late game, well, mid-game, and hunt down Malekith instead. Scourge Runners, they were left on fire at will, so that came in to bite their back very soon, as they exhausted a lot of ammo on the cheap and, yeah, dirt cheap skink skirmishers, and just not a good usage of their damage output. Now, Dark Riders, yeah, they got beat back by the more numerous Lizardmen mobility, and Bleak Swords didn't have good engagement as well. The Khorne Knights and Khorne Dread Knights did some damage, but overall not a lot. Dealing with a lot of armor-piercing units, just not great trade, as their melee stats are not exactly the greatest either. Okay, yeah. As you can see here, we have tons of replay, and unfortunately, I'm not gonna cast everything here. Yeah, like all these, it's gonna take me like a half a day just to cast everything. So yeah, we'll just pick out something interesting, and then we can, yeah, we can see what happens. Nope, not this one, not this one. Oh, do we want to look at Wood Elf versus Dwarf? Maybe not. Oh, double Gorgon now, and Jabberslife. Now that's interesting. Let's see. Let's check out this one. Haven't seen Gorgon in a while, or maybe I just haven't played against Beastmen for a while. But yeah, seems like Gorgon is making a comeback, and it seems like more and more players are using them. I've seen strat games using a double Gorgon against Dwarfs, but very possibly against Warwick, but I don't remember the details. But yeah, wait, this is strat games. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, Gorgon, solid anti-large unit, anti-large fighters with regeneration, so they're not as susceptible to, yeah, the strength from Flash, which allows them heal in melee. Makes them less susceptible to Soul Stealer, just basically using that self-heal in melee to mitigate all those health drain. There's also a single Jabberslife. The disruptive charge animation can be really useful in certain circumstances. But yeah, let's see, what else does he have here? Destroyers of Drake Wall, some Angora Spears, a few Angora Raiders, and a lot of melee Centaurs. Leading the army, Great Grey Shaman of Wild coming in with... Wait. Traitorkin, of course it's Traitorkin. In the skies, Malekith, a front line of Bleak Swords for the Dark Elves. On the side here, skirmishing is already underway. Khorne Knights trying to overload the Beastmen mobility here, but the Centaurs are quick to support, plus the Great Brave Shaman on his Tuskor Chariot. More and more Centaurs flooding in, overloading, basically trying to beat back the Khorne Knights with sheer numbers, and the support of Gorgon plus the Jabberslife here, just beating back all those Khorne Knights, especially now that they're under half, well, now that they're under half leadership. The Aura of Madness, the Mortis engine effect from the Jabberslife is active, and it's draining a lot of health away from this blobbed up fight. The front line, though, the Bleak Sword seems to be trading well against the Angora Spears, who are indeed anti-large and doesn't trade as well against anti-infantry units. But the problem is that the mobility fight is going definitely in the favor of the Beastmen right now. A lot of these Khorne Knights are completely beaten back by the much cheaper Centaurs with the support of Jabberslife and the double Gorgons. Some of these Angora Raiders are compromised, but they can simply regroup back later, while the Centaurs can come in to screen away all these Crowls of Cain and Harpies. The front line is crumbling for the Beastmen though, and this leaves them a power blob of single entities here. 2 Gorgons, a single Tuskor Chariot with a Great Brave Shaman on top, plus a Jabberslife still roaming around the battlefield. Malekith is not going into combat. Wait, Malekith has got a lot of kills. What happened? Oh, he used a breath and probably jumped down somewhere. And, of course, he should have his Chill-Win or Gaze of Malice. Maybe not. Anyways, he's just jumping around right now. Sentinels charging in, overloading the Khorne Knights. And what else? Malekith, yeah, seems to having a trouble to decide where to engage because he doesn't want to go in here, as there is just a lot of anti-lodge fighting power plus armor piercing. So the Witch Elves are trying to rampage things in the middle of the blob here. Even diving down Malekith to... Oh, this is dangerous because diving down into the Great Brave Shaman and knocking him down in terms of health, allowing the Witch Elves to rampage him. And the Gorgons are not exactly in place to beat back Malekith. Now they're coming in, but Malekith is already pulling out a Soul Stealer as well, topping up the health of Malekith and draining the health away from all these Beastmen single entities. While over here, Sentinels, they are quite tattered right now, but they're trying to beat back the Harpies with the help of the Gorgon, with actually pretty decent charge, with the impact chipping away quite a bit of health from the Harpies. And at the same time, Malekith diving down, terror routing away a bunch of Ungol Raiders, and with their friends routing, these Sentinels will be following suit, even shattering the unit. And yep, the entire Beastmen army is sustained by nothing but the single entities now. Not even the Brave Shaman is here now, since he is routed away and didn't actually manage to use most of his abilities, being rampaged and all that. Now he will be shattered and escorted away, probably hunted down by the Khorne Knights, meaning that, yeah, it's all down to these 3 single entity units. And Malekith can cycle charge to his heart's content. I don't know if they have the tankiness to go through all these Dark Elf units. They probably can burst down Malekith if they can get some lucky hits, but there's also a lot of supporting Dark Elf units surrounding him. So we'll be doing a bit of fast forward here as the Gorgons are trying to put in some hits onto Malekith, and they are actually putting quite a beating on Malekith, putting him down to half health, but Malekith can simply go back up into the skies, drop a Soul Stealer, and heal back up. So this is still a bit finicky, but he is trying hard to rout off the Jabberslav, but Jabberslav, the charge animation of the Jabberslav flying around, this is why Jabberslav has been a very ridiculous unit at the beginning of its existence. The Charlemagne DLC budget really coming in handy here, as the Jabberslav just charges away, just floats away from Malekith missing the attack. Well, we are still on the patch 2.4, so unfortunately we don't have a fixed charge animation for flying units yet. They're coming in soon, but just not quite yet. And Malekith missed those charges, dropping in a Soul Stealer, trying to drain away the health of all these single entities, doing some nice damage to Gorgon with the breath attack help. But yeah, seeing all these single entities around here, Malekith does not want to dive down recklessly. Although if he doesn't dive down, that means the Jabberslav can continue to use that Aura of Madness and keep draining away the health of surrounding units once they've got less than half of their leadership. Although the good news for the Dark Elves is the Gorgon, one of them, has their heal cap in sight, but the bad news is that Jabberslav is rampaging around among the Dark Elf ranks. This is not literally, but more of a metaphoric sense, as the Dread Spears, these Khorne Knights, attempted to regroup, but the Jabberslav simply charges in, terror outs them, and also drains away their HP. And yeah, balance of power is slightly in favor of the Beastmen right now, all thanks to the 2 Sentinels and two Gorgons. This barely holding on Jabberslav, and a bit of a regrouped Sentinels here, where the Dark Elves simply struggles to chase them down. And the Jabberslav will continue to drain away the health of any units surrounding them with less than half leadership. Like these Khorne Knights slowly taking away their health. Malekith tries to hunt down the Jabberslav, but he's getting his ass handed to him by 2 different Gorgons. Oh god, this is quite ridiculous, but finally the Jabberslav is gone, leaving only 2 anti-large fighting power in the fray, and Malekith can freely chase down the Jabberslav. We'll go back into fast forward as the Jabberslav comes back, but then Malekith quickly routed him. And yeah, it's gonna be 2 Gorgons just duking it out, trying to counteract the Soul Stealer with their regeneration, but things are looking not bad for them. But yeah, as the supporting units are slowly whittled down by all the... as the Beastmen supporting units are slowly whittled down and the heal cap is coming in sight for the Gorgon, they are also running out of steam soon. Well, it's cycle charging action now, since there's just 2 single entities here. One fighting, one cycle charging. And slowly grinding it out. Okay, both of them are now up to their healing cap. So Malakav only has to route off one with cycle charging and then the second one will be easily follow suit. But the thing is, every time he dives in to attack one of the Gorgon, oh shit, and he's gone. Every time he dives down to attack one of the Gorgon, the other follows suit and pushes straight through the Dark Elf infantry block and hits him in the back, taking a huge chunk away from his health. And with that, yeah, just cycle charging alone is not enough, because there's no mass blocker to pin down the other Gorgon. And with Malakav shattering, there's no hope for the Dark Elves to beat back 2 single entity cycle charging. I mean, one is fighting, fulfilling the attacking rule, the other cycle charges freely. And yeah, not much the Dark Elves can do about that, with only some tattooed bleak swords and dread spears to hold their position. GG to both players here, although the double Gorgon is indeed quite ridiculous. 3k damage value here, 3,200 damage value here. The Great Brave Shaman of Wild is not that great. After all, he didn't really quite use much of his spells, being rampaged by the Witch Elves and routed off by, and even destroyed by the Khorne Knights. Yeah, he just got nuked hard in mid-game. Jabber's Life though did some pretty solid damage with the draining effect, the Aura of Madness. Got a lot of kills with the ridiculous charge animation, saving him definitely saving him more than once from Malakav's charge attack. Just kind of floats away from the enemy units and plows through. But the disruptive charges still is not enough to save him from being hunted down by Malakav, so he is dead. Centaurs did okay, not great, but considering that they're fighting against Khorne Knights, yeah, that's pretty solid. After all, they don't have the greatest armor piercing. Although this one definitely earned back their own cost and then some more. Destroyers of Drakewall plus the other Angor Spears, yeah, they didn't really do much here, being beaten back by a bunch of infantry blanders, the Witch Elves mostly. And Bleak Swords cut down quite a few of them. Angor Raiders, with the infantry collapsing, there's nothing to protect them from the charge of a lot of Khorne Knights and Dread Knights. So, plus the Harpies are threatening them all the time, they just kind of died without doing much damage overall. Hey, hello dog. Nice to see you here. Dark Elves, let's see. Dread Knights not doing much damage. Khorne Knights as well, not great. Either fighting against the Gorgon is not the greatest suit for them. The Gorgons do have anti-large and armor piercing, beating them back by quite a bit. Witch Elves did some very, very minor damage, taking a lot of charge damage in fact, and also probably get shot up by archers. That's also a very likely way for them to die. Dread Spears somehow managed to get hundreds of kills, including the Blake Swords, and Harpies did minor damage, not the greatest damage overall, around half their unit cost, so not the greatest performance, but well, it is. They shut down the missiles, and that's the most important thing, I suppose. Malakav though, just constantly draining the HP and cycle charging and breath attacking those Gorgons, but those Gorgons simply do not die. They refuse to die with their regeneration slowly, not regeneration, but healing slowly topping up their health. And Malakav simply do not have that kind of burst damage, unlike other melee duelists. Soul Stealer is great at draining single entity health, but it also have a cooldown, and it doesn't have the greatest burst damage. If you want burst damage, you probably need some other options, like for example, Scourge Runner Chariots. But yeah, Malakav drain a lot of health, tank a lot of damage, but just not enough to beat back 2 anti-large armor-piercing single entities. Now, next up, let's see, what do we have next? Yeah, well, I don't want to see that. Do we really want to see Dark Elves again? It's been a lot of Dark Elves. God, stop. Okay, Skaven, Dark Elves again. I think we need to stop with the Dark Elves for a bit. Like, half the games have Dark Elves in here. Dark Elves, okay, now Dowie versus High Elves. Dark Elves again. Dark Elves. Well, Hellebron. Hellebron. Okay, that's interesting. We can try this later. Yeah, Dark Elves again, but this is Morathi, which versus okay, there's some interesting options here, but there's still a lot of Dark Elves, which I honestly am kind of fed up with already. It's too much Druchi. Too much Druchi. Hey, Mr. Casual. Well, you can always come back to the archives to check out the double Gorgons again. It's gonna always be there. It's not like I'm gonna delete the archives. But yeah. What else? Double Gorgon, Dark Elves. Stop it. Stop giving me Dark Elves. Okay. We can check out this one. Wait, have we seen this? It doesn't matter. I don't want us to see this. I don't want us to see Malekith, Cheese Runner Chariots, and Khorne Knights. Yes, fuck this. I'm out. Yeah, we can check this one out. Matthew, I literally hate Dark Elves. It's the same with Slaanesh. It's too much. Yeah, it's just too much Dark Elves these days. I just can't. Like, stop playing Dark Elves. I mean, to be fair, it is indeed a very competitive tournament, so people would try to use the more competitive faction, but god damn it. Like, half the games are Dark Elves. We have, what, 20-ish factions? Different unit rosters, and every damn time it's fucking Dark Elves. Alright. High Elves versus Skaven. And of course, we have Poison Globadiers, but we also have a lot of Shadow Warriors in the front to do some skirmishing game, chipping away the health of the Skaven slaves, but they need to be careful because the Warlock Giselles are counter-firing and picking off their health very quickly. They are trying to dish out some damage against the Poison Globadiers, but they do have 100 armor, and that's very high armor even against among weapons teams, because like Warlock Giselles only have 70, and other stuff like other stuff also doesn't have that much armor, probably 80, 90 for like Morse's team and shit. But yeah, the Poison Globadiers are just tanking, and the Shadow Walkers are in Shadow Walkers, now that's interesting. Not only Shadow Warriors, but yeah, they're in great trouble right now because they are getting picked apart by the Giselles. Now the Warlock Giselles will be deleted by a Fate of Fiona, I assume. Yep, Fate of Fiona coming right here, and that's gonna be gone, but that doesn't hurt the Natty Booble since they are hidden away and are not discovered by the Archmage of Death, who are indeed being shot at. Now in the front line, the skirmishing is taking effect, chipping away the health of these Skaven slaves, but a lot of these Shadow Walkers are very weak in terms of health already. Possibly being hit by some of these Poison Globadiers, yep, draining away some of their health, and some of them even caught by Skaven slaves, giving a few kills to the Skaven chaff. But then there's still some more Shadow Walkers on the field, slowly draining their health, picking apart their short-range Poison Globadiers, while the Giselles are just sitting at the back, trying to open up at picking apart the Shadow Warriors. Quite effective so far, but the thing is that there's only one unit and they can only do so much. Although the lack of melee infantry does come in to bite the High Elves back, as you can see here, spears are screening away some of the Skaven units for the Shadow Warrior, but unfortunately they can't screen out everything. They need to start engaging some of these Illyrian Reavers to try and slow down the Skaven slaves' advance. Thankfully, Shadow Warriors and Shadow Walkers are all pretty decent melee combatant. The Shadow Warriors here surviving pretty well even against melee units like these, but the Archmage of Death also staying in the skies. But here comes the counter charge here. Red Ogre is being weakened by the Shadow Warriors enough, and Illyrian Reavers simply charges in and pin them down. The charge shock damage is pretty nice, plus the Eagle Clubbolt throwers chugging away their health is also pretty nice, lowering their leadership and all that. But with the counter charge from all these Skaven units being shot by Warlock Giselles, being hit by the Ashen Triads and anti-large armor piercing unit, very great at chasing off and cutting down enemy cavalry. And the Illyrian Reavers were forced to pull back and leaving the Shadow Warriors to the mercy of all these Skaven units. On the other side, Ashen Triads also pushing, but there are some Illyrian Reavers managed to catch the Poison Wing Globadiers unprotected. Now the Ashen Triads and Skaven Clan Rat Spears are returning to protect them, but whether the Poison Wing Globadiers can tank out long enough, we shall see. But with the heavy armor, it is very likely so. Lizardmen Reavers charging in, surrounding Lord Scroll, but a Rod of Corruption draining away their health. Now they're pulling out, trying to surround, actually charge into the Clan Rat Spears with the support of Spears, hoping to beat them back, but the River High Talisman really weakening a lot of units here, lowering their attack and making them hit like wet noodles. While at the back, Shadow Walkers have pulled back and slowly chipping away the health of some Red Ogres. Not a bad choice, considering their low armor, and also the constant Spirit Leeches are draining away the health of Lord Scroll, keeping him low in health and making sure he can be sniped out at some point soon. On the far side, Natty Bull's sharpshooters are running low in terms of ammo, while the Shadow Warriors, some of them still actually manage to survive despite the counterfire from the Natty Bubbles and the charge from the Red Ogres. Now they're chipping away the health of all these dark high Skaven units, and we'll just be kiting and trying to expand as much ammo and regain as much value as possible. Over here, there's still some surviving Poison Wing Globadiers, draining the health away from the Shadow Warriors. This is why the Poison Wing Globadiers are so dangerous. Even if they have a single unit model surviving, they can still do some significant damage by draining away your health with the Poison Wind effect. Thankfully, they are nerfing it in the next patch, so I'm looking forward to that. Anyways, Shadow Walkers shooting arrows into the Ashen Triads. Not a bad call for sure, since the Ashen Triads do have a very low armor, only 20. Oh god. Even lower than Shadow Warriors, who got Weeping Blade debuffed their armor by 50%, so they originally have 30-ish armor, and a counter charge from Lizardmen Reavers will be pinning them down, allowing the Shadow Walkers and Warriors to chip away their health. Over here, somehow the Archmage of Death is not dead yet, being surrounded by Lord Scroll, and 2 assassins somehow managed to pull back up into the skies. She needs to get out of dodge here. She does not want to get close to any of these single entities, as she will get slaughtered, and the balance of power is not quite in the favor of the High Elves right now. A lot of their stuff is running out of juice. The Skavens are indeed low in terms of leadership, but they still have some quite healthy units, which the High Elves do not have the tools to chase them down, especially given the low health of the Archmage of Death. There are some shattering Skaven units though, but they're only Skaven slaves, so it doesn't really matter. While the Shadow Warriors, Shadow Walkers are all being caught up pretty bad by Rod of Corruption and all these Skaven melee units, taking away their health and their precious ammo, leaving only 2 tattered Shadow Walkers units. Shadow Warriors units, they're not even walkers, they're just kind of, the walkers are here dead. Archmage really want the Poison Wing Globadiers dead, but whether it's enough, we shall see. There's still some Lizardmen Reavers on the far side, but they're not gonna be back in time. While Spears are now trying to return, but the Natty Bubbles, who they're targeting, are already out of ammo. So 2,400 gold worth of damage value. That's some insane stuff for sure. And the Spears will not be able to do much here. They can tie down the Natty Bubbles, but the 70 armor of the Natty Bubbles will keep them surviving for quite a long while. The Archmage of Death is still trying desperately to deal damage to Lord Scroll and hoping that the death of the Skaven Lord can bring her a bit of solace and avenge her fallen brethren, but at this point there are 2 assassins and a lot of Skaven chaff that the High Elves do not have the stuff to grind through. Spears might be great at holding, but they're not good at poking back damage. Although at least there is some route disappearing summons, balancing the regaining the balance of power by a little bit more. Lizardmen Reavers charging in, routing the Clan Rat Spears and allowing the Mage of Death to pull out, but then the Red Ogres are coming in. Shadow Warriors are still firing, but there's not much to keep them in this fight. Another Spirit Leech coming in, draining the health of the remaining assassins, and it's really coming down to whether the Spears can hold at this point. And I doubt they can, because after all, Ashen Triads are pretty good at attacking. 30 melee attack. Oh, well, actually, wait, these are spears, so 50 melee defense plus, under the buff of martial prowess. Although that's gonna wear off soon with the Red Ogres charging in to do some shock damage. And balance of power is really close to army losses right now. The spears are teetering on the edge of breaking, but they are somehow still holding. Nanti-Bulbul Sharpshooter still holding back the other unit of spears. These guys still holding, and they're routing the second assassin. Yeah, they're routing the second assassin, and another Spirit Leech coming in. Oh, army losses is hit. Yeah, it was very, very close, but there's just too much unit presence for the Skavens here, and the spears have taken way too much damage. And then with the Nanti-Bulbul pinning in the other unit of spears, there's not enough high elf presence to tip that balance of power in the local vicinity, which means there's faster and stronger units nearby, faster and stronger enemies nearby, which gives an additional leadership debuff, and also army losses comes in with the damage attrition, combat attrition, and all that. So very unfortunate there. There is a chance for them to win this with those cycle charges, but oof. GG to Keaton and also Alfarian Shades. That was a very, very close game. Unfortunately, those Shadow Warriors do not have the armor piercing to quickly pick apart the weapons teams, especially against the Giselles, who does have missile block chance with their shields. Yeah, Shadow Walkers, Shadow Warriors, they all have limited damage value because they just got picked apart by the Giselles. Counterfire is really hard to deal with, other than using Eagle Claw Bolt Flurry, which is not the most efficient use of the High Elf Artillery, since they do not have that kind of burst damage. So they do struggle in quickly bursting down enemy units. The Mage of Death, holy shit, 3,200 gold worth of damage value. The Fate of Buna plus all those Spirit Leeches really taking a toll on the Skaven army, really carrying this game for the High Elf. And Larian Reavers, they charge in and they got dragged down in melee combat, all thanks to the swarm of spears, halberds, I mean Guandao, as in the blades of the Ashen Triads, and then countercharge of the Red Ogres as well. Spears did okay. These guys somehow managed to earn back double their values. Very solid stuff. A staunch line of spears indeed, but in the end, it was the other parts of the army that fell before them. Now for the Skaven army, Lord Scroak did some pretty solid damage. Rod of Corruption plus Liber Mortis. No, Liber Bubocnicus? I think that's the name. Yeah. Basically, the damage spells comes in really handy, and he's also a very good melee combatant. He is indeed a Plague Monk Sensor Bearer. So he does have armor piercing, he has frenzy, he has magic attacks, he is good in melee combat. Don't underestimate him, despite him being a caster lord of the Skavens. For the assassins, they had limited damage value, mostly there to protect Scroak and debuff enemy units, which they actually failed, because Lord Scroak is dead from all the magic attacks, the magic spells and all that. The Ashen Triads and Spears did, well, alright. Not the greatest damage value. Really, the damage came from one of these Poison Wind Globadiers, one of the Orblock Giselles, the Nanti-Bulbul Sharpshooter. The other did some okay damage, but I don't think that's enough to recover their cost. Poison Wind Globadiers, this one didn't do much here. Red Ogres, mostly there for mass blocker to pin down Ilarian Reavers and push them back. And plus, with the mobility threat, a lot of these Shadow Warriors actually got dragged down fairly fast. Skaven Slaves are Skaven Slaves, so not much to talk about. Now let us catch up with the chat for a bit. Is the Dark Elf situation worse than when Vampires were broken in Warhammer 2? I actually don't remember the broken Vampire days. It's been quite a long while. Literally been years. Dark Elf situation is only so bad because we have to ban other factions, and the only strong faction that remains is Dark Elf. Yeah, pretty much, but I do think that Dark Elves, despite Malekith being OP and Malice being OP, it's the roster isn't necessarily the strongest thing in the world. They can be beaten back fairly reliably by certain factions. I mean, I just find, yeah, there are some factions that goes in does trace well against Dark Elves, I think. Yeah, anyways, yeah. Pointy-ear things lost against the best, mightiest warriors. Yes, indeed. Be proud, Skavens, be proud. And let's see. More Beastmen? No. Flowering Shades. No, I refuse. I refuse to cast more Dark Elves for sure. It's like the entire tournament scene is gonna be basically dominated by a few factions here: Dark Elves, High Elves, Skavens, and then we have a sprinkle of Empire, Tzeentch, Warriors of Chaos, and occasionally some Dwarfs. But yeah, mostly it's just 50% of Dark Elves, 20% of High Elves, and then a sprinkle of other stuff. Like, I can't even find. There's only one Lizardmen so far out of everything, and there's no greenskins in all these replays. I'm just sad. There's a lack of Nurgle. Slaanesh is like, we have a couple Slaanesh, but there's also Tzeentch. What else? There's no Kislev, which understandable, since it is a shit faction so far. Let's hope they are buffed up soon with Orca and some changes to their units. What else? This is the dreaded trio. Actually, should I delete it? I do have a personal replay against the Dwarfs, which is quite nice, so I might showcase that after we're done with showcasing the replays that seems interesting. But yeah, okay, let's just have a look at the remaining replays, and yeah, we'll see what happens here. Dark Elf and High Elf and Norska seem to be a very common matchup, because I've seen them quite a few times, but no more. Okay, Hellebrand versus Ogre Kingdoms. That's something not Malekith, not Malice, no cheese runners. That's fine. It's Dark Elves, but it's acceptable. Ready for Norska to be meta next patch? No way. It's gonna be Ogre Kingdoms dominating the meta. Do you see them buffing Crushers even furthermore? Now that's gonna be what's dominating the next meta. Although I still think that Crushers are overrated. I'd rather use Man-Eaters with great weapons.
Very well.
But yeah, right. That reminds me, Norska is an annoying problem for the Ogre Kingdoms because Skinwolves are just so good. With their regeneration, with their anti-large, they just kind of hold and beats back all kinds of Ogre damage dealers. Anyways, army built here, a front line of Dread Spears backed up by Dog Shards, a few Khorne Knights at the back, one of them the Knights of Ebon Claw. Yeah, more Khorne Knights over here. Dread Spears, yeah, 5 Khorne Knights, one of them a Dread Knight actually. Dread Spears in the front, the Nobbler front for the Ogre King, actually wait. There's also Prone Hellebrand plus a Sorcerers of Fire. Now for the Ogre Kingdoms, Nobbler front 9, Nobbler. Oh boy, a holy roasting Burning Head. Roasting down 2 units of Goblins and singeing the third one. Nobblers, not Goblins. Anyways. Nobbler tying down Dread Spears on the flank here. Crushers are pushing in with the support of Saber Tusk packs. More Nobblers are pushing in, trying to sneak through the gaps and hit up the Dark Shards at the back. These Ogre Bulls are indeed penetrating the flanks, penetrating the front line here. But the Dread Spears are here to intercept, while the Ogre Kingdoms are going for a full-on flank overload. Same goes for the other side. Saber Tusk packs, 2 of them plus an Ogre Bull unit charging straight into the Khorne Knights, beating them down quite hard. However, over here, the Ogre Kingdom seems to be in a bit of trouble as Crone Hellebrand and oh wait, no, they're not in trouble at all. Their Ogre Bulls and Saber Tusk packs are beaten down right now, but the Crushers and Sky Striders are still very, very much healthy, and they're instead beating down all these Knights of the Ebon Claw and Khorne Knight. And the little Bone Crusher there also dealt some significant damage to the Khorne Knight. But with the close presence of the Dark Shards plus a lot of this armor-piercing and anti-large hits beating down the Ogre Bulls, there's a lack of buffer units for the Crushers, and now they're starting to take damage, and more Dread Spears are coming in to support as well. The Nobblers are not exactly pushing, and they need to start pushing. They need to start coming into the support of their... Yeah, they need to start coming over to this flank to support their damage dealer units, because if they don't, they're just gonna get hit. These Sky Riders are gonna get dragged down soon. The Khorne Knights are lowering in terms of HP, but Khorne Helabron is still very much healthy here, chucking down the health of the Sky Striders. The Bone Crushers are doing some nice damage to the Khorne Knights, but they are not routing just yet, especially with the Murderous Prowess buffing up their leadership. Yeah, leadership by 15. They are holding, while the Sky Striders do not have that kind of army ability to sustain their hit points, and leadership, they need a healing fast. Although, good news is that there are some Saber Tusks coming in to screen out the remaining Khorne Knights again, and the Nobblers are flooding the Dark Elf position, although the Saber Tusks here plus the Ogre Bulls are soon being beaten back by the two Khorne Knights combined. The blood fight is still going on right here, and yeah, this is why you don't bring Sky Striders into the Dark Elf matchup, because they will get a horrible trade against Khorne Knights and all the armor-piercing missiles and all that. As you can see here, the Sky Striders are extremely low in terms of health, despite possible healing available. Now, Scrag this. God, this is ballsy. Coming in with Scrag the Slaughter, he's a lot less tanky than regular Slaughter Master. Huh. Okay. Props to him, actually. But yeah, as you can see here, Bonds of Power is getting lower and lower for the Ogre units here, as the Sky Striders are reliably beaten back by a combination of Dark Shards. Khorne Knights will be flooding. Yeah, Khorne Knights will be coming to reinforce the Sky Striders and beat back, reinforce the Dark Shards and beat back the Sky Striders. There's still a lot of spears around who just dodged a bit of a fisting. Nobbler Trappers still. There's still quite a few of them, but unfortunately that's not going to do much for them, especially yeah, a Burning Head routing another unit. The Nobblers have a really limited damage output. Khorne Helabron fighting Scrag. Scrag has great armor piercing and an anti-infantry bonus, but Khorne Helabron is indeed on a horse, so that's not going to be effective at all, and he will soon be broken by the Khorne. And yeah, victory goes to the Dark Elves here, as their Khorne Knights, Dread Knights, and all that trade pretty well into the Ogre Kingdom mobility, and the Ogre Kingdoms didn't really have the healing to tank out the damage here. You can see that the Sky Striders, the Crushers, all have very limited damage value here, as they were dealing with anti-large armor piercing units. Spears, they just basically there to hold back the Nobblers and perhaps support against the Ogre Bulls and whatnot. And then Khorne Helabron did some significant damage, beating down those Crushers with her armor-piercing. Sorceress of Fire cleaning out the Nobbler front line, reducing the supporting units for the Ogre Kingdoms. And Dark Shards did okay. Not the best, but okay. Now the Ogre Kingdom Scrag, yeah, he's not a great lord. Sky Striders and Crushers did poorly, being surrounded by Khorne cavalry. They just got dragged down in melee combat. Ogre Bulls, not a great trade against spears and against Khorne Knights. So again, not a lot of damage value. Saber Tusk packs, you don't charge them straight into Khorne Knights. You need something to support them, like for example Crushers, or better Man-Eaters, or even better, just shoot the Khorne Knights with lead belchers when you're tying them down with Saber Tusk packs. Nobbler Trappers, not much. They're burned hard by all those burning heads, so yeah, very limited damage value. Yeah, not much to say about regular Nobblers. They suck. Although they're just absolute chaff, slowing down enemy push. The Crushers are indeed buffed, Mr. Casual. I don't know what you're talking about. They will be buffed. If anything that's gonna get buffed, it is the Crushers. Now, let's see. A lot of these matchups are fairly common. I mean, after all, it is indeed a tournament game, but yeah. We have way too many replays. I can't. Okay, we're done with Dark Elves for a while. Like, fuck that. Okay, this seems interesting. Triple Fiery Bird versus Cathay. let's have a quick look. We can watch this on fast forward. I mean, I hate Cathay, but triple fiery bird seems to be an interesting pick. They do have a lot of resistance against stuff, say, like Grand Cannon. So that helps a lot. But they don't have resistance against regular Iron Hail gunners. So, army build. 3 fiery birds, one of them the rainbow bird, the skittle bird. A front line of white lines of Shreds at the back, 4 Lofen Sea Guard, and leading the army, Alario the Radiant. Right at the start of the battle, the double firing rockets are already opening up onto the Lofen Sea Guard, chipping away the archer presence of the High Elves. A front line of Jade Warriors for the Cathay army, plus a couple Iron Hail Gunners at the back, and 2 Jade Warrior crossbowmen to add in more missile support, trying to trade against the the High Elf Spear Box, using their artillery and their missiles. Peasant long spears on the flanks and at the back, plus 3 Jade Lancers for a bit of mass blocker. Now, the fiery birds are diving straight down onto the Iron Hail Gunners, and the Skittle Burst is on the firing rocket, but the Jade Lancers will be coming in to pin them down. There are only so many Jade Lancers, so they will indeed be occupied right now. But there's no High Elf mobility to there's no High Elf mobility to threaten their backline, so they don't really need that much units. Anyways, in the front line, Jade Lancers are doing some nice damage to the Flamespire Phoenix, and the Iron Hail Gunners are pulling back and now able to switch their targets, although the white lines of Shreds are closing in on the front line, and they can and will trade cost efficiently against the Jade Warriors. However, without Emmerich buffing their melee attack stats, it will take them some time to get through the heavy melee defenses. Actually, these guys are not buffed up by Harmony, so yeah, they're just gonna get wrecked soon. At the back here, a little bit of a Ancestral Warrior summoning on the Arcane Phoenix. The Skittle Bird is being tied down by a lot of anti-large armor piercing and mass, so the Skittle is having trouble to get out. While at the back here, Firing Rocket are now closed in by the Lofen Sea God and got simply shot up by a barrage of arrows. They don't have the tankiest model after all, so enough arrows will be breaking all these Firing Rocket. And at the same time, the Flamespire Phoenix is healed up quite a bit by all those Earthbloods coming in from Alario herself. Wait, where's the other Fire Pigeon? Yep, the other Fire Pigeon is routed by a combination of spears and Jade Lances, but the White Lines of Shreds are now making short work of the remaining Jade Warriors. A lot of them are now down to half health, while the White Lines are still quite healthy, over 3/4 of health. The Skittlebird is still tied down. Oh boy. Yeah, well, he'll be tied down, occupying a lot of those Cathay resources, but at the same time, White Lines will be pushing back all these Jade Warriors, and now Jade Lancers have dived in to stop them, but there is possibly a mistake here. Iron Hail Gunners walking into the White Lines, definitely a bad call. Alario Radiant somehow engaging in melee, but she is on foot, so she is not subjected to any anti-large spears. And at the back here, some Jade Warriors have got onto the Lofen Sea God, and some of them are also hit by a Talons of the Night. But the problem is that they are not really the major DPS right now. The major ones are the White Lands, who are now pushing hard. And the Fire Pigeon are now here dumpstering some fiery poop onto the Jade Lances and Peasant Long Spears, as they're now blobbing up around the Skittlebird. And the Peasant Long Spears have taken massive damage and are quickly routed away by the fiery poop. And then the Flamespire Phoenix will be diving onto the Jade Warriors, tying them down in melee, receiving a heal from Alario the Radiant with the Earthblood. Over here, Star of Avalon is topping up the health of the rather low health Flamespire Phoenix, but a lot of resources are invested onto the single entities here, from both Cathay and High Elf. That means the White Lions are just free to do whatever they want, which is exactly what they need. No shooting, no artillery bombardment against them, and they are just cutting down Cathay infantry left, right, and center. Wait, now where's the Skittlebird? She needs to drop in somewhere. Yep, and here comes the somersault, and there goes a blob of Cathay infantry. And all these peasant spears will be routed, equalizing that balance of power, as shortly beforehand it was actually in favor of the Cathay army. Now, Iron Hail Gunners will be tied down by the Skittlebird, while the White Lions will be chasing after the Jade Warriors crossbow. They only have, both of them has 33 speed, so oh damn, okay, the Harmony does buff up their speed, so but with the charge animation buffing this, yeah, charge acceleration, the White Lions should be able to catch up with the Jade Warriors, especially they're not on skirmish mode, and they will stop once in a while, giving more time for the White Lions to catch up. The second Ancestral Warrior summon has disappeared, leaving nothing for the Cathay army to deal with all these colored pigeons of the High Elves. Now the Flame Spy Phoenix have charged straight into the Jade Warrior crossbow, trying to tie them down, allowing the White Lions to catch up. More White Lions are tying down the other Jade Warrior crossbows, hacking them down with the great melee stats they have: 38 attack and 40 defense, and only 17 on the Jade Warrior. And yeah, Alariel though might be in a bit of trouble fighting against the Shogungan Lord. She is not a slouch in melee with 67 melee defense, but still being charged by the Dragonblood Shogungan Lord and surrounded by enemy melee units, it's not a great engagement for her. So the Skittlebird will be diving in to support her Leech Lord, and yeah, actually tank out the damage from the Dragonblood Shogungan Lord, especially okay, I just need to get a good click. Wait, yeah, she does have a bit of ward save right now with the Attune to Magic active, having over 15 or more winds of magic. Anyways, another, oh, a banishment is coming in. A banishment is coming in. Oh, I know, it's Talons of the Night. What am I saying? She did not have banishment. And Talons of the Night nuking the health of a bunch of White Lions. And yeah, she doesn't have banishment. Anyways, nuking the health of White Lions, but that's not going to dissuade them from pursuing the Cathay units. On the far side, Iron Hail Gunners and Jade Warriors chased down by the Flame Spy Phoenix, who still have a bit of health thanks to all the healing. They're close to their heal cap, but that doesn't matter as they are still fighting hard in the fight. Now, more White Lions are now healed by Earthblood upgraded, hacking down Jade Lances and Peasants alike, while the Dragonblood Shogungan Lord take a lot of damage fighting that Arcane Phoenix. So we'll be doing a bit of fast forward here, as it is quite obviously in the favor of High Elves right now. More fiery pigeon poop are dropped onto the Peasants. The single entities armor piercing are just gunning the Shogungan Lord, and that's going to be the end of the Cathay army. Mr. Casual, I submitted a game versus ODM Kyle Harman. Thanks for the submission, Mr. Casual, but I don't think I'm gonna cast any more replays before DLC of the Chaos Dwarf drops, because I have enough content right now on my channel, as in I've pre-recorded enough stuff until the release of Chaos Dwarf DLC. So I'll just be uploading content that I have already made, and new replays, unfortunately, I won't be actually casting. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for all the submission though. We're almost so close to Forge of the Chaos Dwarf and almost at 1,000 subscribers, and we'll probably do something special. And yeah, just as a bit of a thank you to the community. But yeah, before that, we'll just finish this stream with a lot of replays waiting to cast. And let's check the damage value. Skittle Phoenix, 1,700 damage value. Alario, she's on foot. She doesn't have any damage spells other than Tempest, and yeah, she doesn't really need to do much damage here. She's mostly here for the healing, while the Flame Spy Phoenix did some pretty decent damage. I think this one earned back their cost. Not sure. I think Flame Spy Phoenix's cost 1,100 gold. White Lions, as always, very solid unit. Not as always, since they were shit before Immortal Empires. But yeah, ever since Immortal Empires, they are very solid, cutting through a lot of Jade Warriors, and their missile resistance mitigate a lot of the damage coming in from the Grand Cathay missiles, plus their great melee stats grind through the Jade Warriors. Took a bit longer since there's no Imrik buffing them up with Dragon Horn, but still, they managed to cut through. Northern Seaguard did some pretty decent damage, but mostly bombarded by the firing rockets. Now for the firing rockets, did some decent damage, but the fact that the Jade Warriors didn't push up far enough to screen away the Lothern Seaguard was a big mistake here, as the Lothern Seaguard got close enough to shoot the artillery and quickly disarm the crew with the sheer volume of missile damage. Jade Lancers mostly tied down the Phoenixes and did some solid damage. Just that a lot of that damage they dealt, they were healed up by simply by the sheer volume of healing spells on Alario. Earthblood, plus they do have the Star of Avalon, plus whenever Alario casts magic, additionally the Shield of Sapphire gives them 10% damage resistance. Alario herself, I don't know if she brought the Shield Stone of Isha, but if she does, grants surrounding units another 10% physical resistance. It's quite ridiculous in terms of tankiness when Alario decides to buff everything around her. Now for the rest of the army, Iron Hell Gunners did okay damage, but that's relative to their cost. They do have a lot more damage potential than just 700 or 500 gold worth of damage value, but their short range is a lethal weakness of them. So yeah, they just couldn't do the damage before getting hit by Phoenixes. Jade Warrior crossbows did okay, but unfortunately they don't have the greatest stuff to shot at, other than the Lothern Seaguard, but even the Lothern Seaguard has a missile block chance to mitigate their damage. Jade Warriors, they held, but they didn't hold long enough, and the White Lions cut through them straight away, if after given enough time, actually, not straight away. But yeah. Oh shit, is Human Boy streaming right now? Oh well. Anyways, we'll just complete this stream. Yeah. Anyways, we'll keep casting replays right now, but if you want to check out the new survival battles with Human Boy, you should go and check out his channel. But other than that, I'll be keep casting replays right now. And yeah, you can always check out the archives actually. That still counts into my watch time and view count, so that helps. That still helps. I do appreciate everyone here in the chat though. Anyways, we will have to move on to the next battle because no, stop giving me Dark Elves. Stop. This is interesting. This is no. I just don't want to see Dark Elves for a while, man. Like, just stop. Like, Dark Elves versus Skaven, 2 meta faction. But Belacor versus Malekith, yet another 2 meta faction. Anyways, let's check out Norska versus High Elves. And it seems that John FB is going for the Plague of Rust plus Hunter of Champions combo, which can be very lethal against the right character, but it seems that there's no melee character for High Elves right now. So the Hunter of Champions might be wasted. Okay, so army built. A front line of Silvern Guard and Sisters of Avalon at back. Further back, Spears, and they're protected by a lot of mobility. 3 Dragon Princes, one of them the Fireborn, and 2 Elarian Reavers on the side. Archmage of Death coming in with Spell of Deletion, the slow delete version, Spirit Leech, the fast delete version, Fate of Buna. And for the Norskin army, Skin Wolves and more wolves in terms of Norskin Ice Wolves, Norskin Warhounds with poison, and regular Norskin Warhounds. A front line of Marauders to tie down the spear line, and more Warhounds, Beasts of Tashnar's Ice Wolves, and a couple more Skin Wolves, really trying to overload the High Elf missile box. Wait, Fate of Buna on the... Okay, on the Marauder Champions. Not a bad choice. Fate of Buna deleting the Marauder Champions, since the HP damage might actually get healed up by the Skin Wolf. So might as well just delete the Marauder Champions first. Over here, Elven Reavers getting caught by Norska Warhounds. A bit of a slip up in micro here. These Elven Reavers managed to turn around and countercharge, while Sovereign Guard will be holding. They will hold, and they can and will hold for ages, absolute ages. Buying time for the Dragon Princess to charge in and do the damage, but ooh, this gonna hurt. A Plague of Rust on one of the Dragon Princes, lowering their armor down to 50, and oh god, the bolt just came straight through the unit, deleting half a unit, and then another quarter of the unit deleted by Searing Doom. A very nice combo of spells, abilities, and a lot of shock damage onto the Dragon Princess. Unfortunately, not the more expensive Fireborn, but that's still a very good cast of multiple spells from the Norskan army. On the other side, Dragon Princes are holding back a lot of these Warhounds, Ice Wolves, and Beasts of Tashnars and Skin Wolves, but they only have so many units here, and they can only hold back so many things. And a lot of these Norskan Marauders, Wolves, they're able to push through the gaps of the High Elf line. Good news is that the Fireborn has beaten back a whole bunch of Skin Wolves and whatnot, and should be able to rout them off and return to secure the backline here. But they do have to be careful, as they do not want the Skin Wolves to come back, since they can and will heal up. And as the Fireborn are tied down by the Skin Wolves, a Searing Doom is devastating their ranks, and there's no healing on the field for the High Elves, so that is permanent damage to their HP, and the Fireborn will be routed, chased off by the Norskan army. Sisters of Avalon try to turn around and fire, but then the Beasts of Tashnar are here to tie them down. And being Regiment of Renown, they do have great melee stats. 46 melee attack. Yeah, they're tearing apart all those sisters with a charge bonus. The Elven Reavers are charging from behind to hopefully help out and rout off the Beasts of Tashnar, but that might not be enough, as more Norskan Ice Wolf plus the Metal Shaman Sorcerer are here to support this fight. More Warhounds are also flooding this entire High Elf position. All the Sovereign Guards are still holding, but they are more like a tanky unit, and they can't really deal damage fast enough, especially with all the damaging spells coming in from Norska. The bolt also doing some nice chip damage to them, but all they can do right now is form a box. Very possibly all they can do right now is just form a box, and then using the spears to just hopefully hold back everything. Yeah, there's really not much else they can do here. Anyways, we'll be fast forwarding here. The Norskans are really running out of options. Spirit Leechings, the Marauder Champions, trying to bring back the Sovereign Guard, but more and more Searing Doom are chipping away the health of the Sovereign Guard. Recharges from the Norskan Wolves, Hounds, and all that are just breaking the backs off of the Sovereign Guard. These guys are still holding, but Wolfric charging in with a rear charge. Marauders and Champions and Skin Wolves slowly grinding everything down. Plague of Rust even debuffing their armor, giving a damage boost to all the Norskan units, and the Sovereign Guards will be slowly worked down. And in the end, Regeneration will be winning the day. The Dragon Princes are not bad in this matchup per se. They did some solid damage overall, but this one not so much, being deleted by a combination of Sea Fang and Searing Doom and Plague of Rust. The Fireborn here did some okay damage, but then they also got deleted by the Searing Doom. Searing Doom is just such a good armor-piercing spell with high armor-piercing explosion damage. Fate of Buna plus Spirit Leech didn't quite do enough from the Archmage of Death. Possibly could be used on the Skin Wolves with the Fate of Buna, deleting one of the units, perhaps alleviating the pressure on the flanks, allowing the Dragon Princes to push them back. But the problem with High Elves is that this is quite a narrow build and can't deal with something that go wide. Like these Norskans here, using the Marauders, one unit of Marauder for each spear unit. 5 Marauders in total, 2 of them Champions. So using one of each unit to pin down the spears, and there are 4 Skin Wolf units and 6 more Ice Wolves and Warhounds, which means that's like 10 mobility units versus 3 Dragon Princes only on the High Elves, and they do not have enough to protect themselves against to protect the Sisters of Avalon. Like there are 2 Elven Reavers that will quickly be torn down by the combination of dogs and wolves, and then the Dragon Princes will follow suit soon without any supporting units. So yeah, the lack of supporting units really hurt. Going wide as usual is a great tactic against the High Elves. Anyways, first game of yeah, we'll be doing a game of should we go Tzeentch? Perhaps we can try to check out Tzeentch right now. Yeah, we'll check out a bit of Tzeentch. And wait, no, not these. Yeah, we can check out Tzeentch actually. Tzeentch versus Cathay. I do think that Tzeentch is not great in this matchup. I'm not sure. I haven't played Tzeentch much or Cathay, so I'm not familiar with this matchup. But I personally think that Tzeentch doesn't have a greatest time in this matchup, due to all the sheer volume of missiles on Grand Cathay to counteract their own missiles. Yeah. Plus the armor shooting them back. So it would be interesting to see how Helmut fight this matchup. Now, army builds, front line of Jade Warriors backed up by a few Jade Warrior crossbows. Actually 5 of them. In fact, most of them has shields. One of them is no shield, possibly because of a lack of funding. And then a single Grand Cannon of Cathay shooting at the Soul Grinder. More Jade Warriors on the flanks, backed up by Peasant Long Spears protecting their flank and rear. And Jade Lances, 2 of them for some mass blocker in case there are some large monsters that need to be tied down. Now, this is probably going to be a game of Blue Fire Spam, but still, even with Blue Fire Spam, I do think this is still a very, very hard matchup for the Tzeentch army. As you can see here, the Grand Cannon is already doing massive damage to the Soul Grinder, and there's nothing to stop them so far. The Grand Cannon is trying to chip... Soul Grinder is trying to chip away the health of the Grand Cannon, and maybe with regrowth they can equalize the fight a bit, but yeah, things are not looking great. Screamers of Tzeentch charging into Jade Lances should do some nice armor-piercing anti-large, buying time for the Chaos Furies to tie down the Jade Warriors, but Jade Warriors with crossbows aren't the... Yeah, they're no slouch in melee combat. 18, 16 attacks, 24 defense. They can hold for quite a bit, especially with their armor. Now, in the front line though, Marauders tying down Jade Warriors, and then Forsaken charging straight through the gaps. More Screamers are tying down the Jade Lancers, but they're also being tied down. One of them is already faded away, and the Grand Cannon is still firing at the... actually, the Soul Grinder is winning this artillery duel, and the Blue Fire is chipping away the health of some of these Jade Lances. Does Kairos have any area of effect ability other than Blue Fire? Nope. So he might have to dive down into melee combat at some point and disrupt all these crossbows, because they are doing massive damage to all these Marauder horses, to Forsaken with the sheer volume of firepower. And there's one single Grand Cannon still shooting at the Soul Grinder. Knocked him aside for a bit. The Miao Ying is being pinned down by a Gaze of Fire, being shot up by a combination of Blue Fire and the Warp Flame effect of the Marauder horses here. They do provide minus 10 armor and weakness to fire. Yeah, giving the Screamers of Tzeentch... Oh, the Screamer of Tzeentch are getting their ass handed to them by Miao Ying herself. And Kairos Fate Weaver. Yeah, Kairos Fate Weaver is having a bit of trouble here. Not sure what he's trying to do here, but I don't think he's enjoying it at all. Soul Grinder is still fighting. At bombardment ability here, chipping away the health of the Jade Warriors with crossbows. Still some damage coming into the Jade. Yeah, I don't think... With all the shields, armor, and missiles, Tzeentch doesn't have much of a solution against Cathay right now, other than trying to snipe Miao Ying with Blue Fire. But Miao Ying also is on foot, so not the greatest target to shoot with Blue Fire. All these Marauder horses are being pushed back by the Jade Warriors with their crossbows. They don't have the shield anymore, so any damage taken is right on their HP. And yeah, they're routed. So we'll be fast forwarding here as the Tzeentch army really struggles to penetrate the defenses of the Cathay army. And we'll just fast forward as Tzeentch go for a desperate attempt trying to goon out Miao Ying, but Miao Ying's on foot. She's regrowing herself. Oh, she's just not gonna die. Yep, and there goes the Tzeentch army. I mean, at this point, it's just rough for the Tzeentch army to deal with Cathay, really. All these Jade Warriors did pretty decent, especially with still a lot of health left. Peasant Long Spears, they just stood there. They didn't really need to do much here, other than screening out Furies and Screamers. Yeah, poor Tzeentch. Carol's Fate Weaver doesn't have enough burst damage to deal with Cathay either, especially not against Miao Ying, who can heal herself. Soul Grinder did some okay damage against the Grand Cannon, but in the end still took way too much damage from the counter artillery fire. Marauders got beaten back by the armor and melee defense of the Harmony, and the Jade Warriors. Forsaken also basically the same thing. Marauder horses not great against Cathay, who has an abundance of missile infantry who can outrange and outshoot your Marauder horses. Screamers and Furies no good damage either. Hello Cardoc, nice to see you here, and thank you for subscribing, man. One more subscriber and one more step closer to 1,000 subscriber. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll keep moving on to the next battle. I do want to cast this one because Empire versus I do think I can see how this is gonna go. Empire versus Vampire Coast with a lot of archers. Well, we haven't seen any Empire and Vampire Coast so far, so might as well let's have a look. Oh, you haven't seen my channel before, Caradog? Now you should see more. Check out my archives. We have a lot of weird army builds and a lot of fun battle replays. Just feel free to check it out after the stream. Now, for army builds, for Empire, front line of Swordsmen, backed up by 5 Huntsmen, just a lot of anti-large firepower, and Death, Amethyst Wizard, Forest Todbringer, and a bunch of Empire Knights, plus a couple spears at the back. Knights of the Blazing Sun as well. Interesting. Didn't expect that to happen, but considering they need to fight against stuff that regenerates, the fire damage might actually be quite crucial here. Now on the front line for the Vampire Coast, Mongols and a bunch of animated Hulks and a bunch of very cheap zombie powered gunnery mob with their pistols. Yeah, they're pistols, right? Yep, they're pistols. Backed up by 3 mortars who are doing devastating damage to the swordsman front line here. And with the swordsmen routed by the explosions, the Mongols are free to charge straight into the huntsmen and destroy them in melee combat. This is a very interesting tactic. Without any mass to pin down the Mongols, the huntsmen are just getting slaughtered in melee combat. More spears are coming in though, but at the same time the mortars are still firing. For some reason, mortar seems to be fairly accurate recently, and their explosions are very effective. Possibly being buffed up by the same thing as the bomber crews. Like, for some reason, the explosion damage seems to be doing a lot more. Yeah, it seems to be very effective in this patch. So that probably explains why all the Searing Dooms and all the bomber crews. But anyways, as you can see here, without enough infantry to hold back Mongols and whatnot, the huntsmen are simply being ran down by a combination of scurvy dogs and Mongols. And at the back here, Empire Knights trying to shut down the mortars with the support of Forest Todbringer as well. But at this point, there's no supporting units for the Empire unit. For the Empire roster. Knights of the Blazing Sun are still fighting, and they're racking up quite a bit of value, beating back Scurvy Dogs and possibly doing some damage to Mongols, but they can only do so much here. There's only one unit of Knights of Blazing Sun, and the other Empire Knights are running down, more like trying to run down Vampire units, but with the summoned armor-piercing Frostbite Damned Knights Errant, one of them is simply wrecked by an overwhelming number of Scurvy Dogs. Boris tries to go in for a snipe against Salastra, but Salastra do have a lot of physical resistance and will be able to tank out this engagement for quite a bit. Spear still pushing, Knights of Blazing Sun fighting 2 armor-piercing units here. Not a great engagement for them. Let's see how they would fare. And yeah, all the remaining huntsmen are compromised. Actually, one of them has been saved, able to get back on their feet and possibly start shooting at some of these animated hulks and Mongols, doing some nice anti-large damage. But the problem is the center Empire Knights are now being beaten back by a combination of cheap terror of the damned Knights Errant and Scurvy Dogs. Now at the back here, mortars, one of them has been knocked offline, but the other 2 are still here, while the Amethyst Wizard are being opened up by a crossfire from 2 different zombie gunnery mobs with their pistols. Now a Spirit Leech is chipping away the health, slowly draining the health of Salastra away, while the Huntsmen are just pulling back, but looks like a bit rough for them as the Scurvy Dogs have spotted them, charged straight into their formations, and will be routing them soon enough. Another summon is coming in, this time the Rotting Promethean, using their mass and just tankiness, their sheer weight to pin down Boris Todbringer. There's not much the Empire can do with all their anti-large options shut down. This is actually quite surprising for me, as I expected the Huntsmen to have an upper hand here, but no, the mortars combined with the sheer weight of rushing from the Mongols break through the Empire front line and then hit up straight up hit and destroyed the bunch of remaining Huntsmen at the back, and without enough melee troops to slow down the advance of the Vampire rush, the mortars were able to freely fire, and the Mongols are just freely running down everything they can see. Especially they do have the healing from the hunger, keeping them topped up in melee fights. Now as you can see here, the Mongols did okay, but most of the damage actually are from from some of these mortars. Yeah, not a lot of damage from the animated hulks. Scurvy Dogs though. Once the Huntsman starts routing, these Scurvy Dogs' pursuit are relentless, chasing down all the routing units, and the pistol mobs also did some solid damage considering how cheap they are at like 300-ish cost. Yeah, they're earning back most of their costs, if not all. Salastra died, but honestly, worth it. And yeah, the Empire didn't really do that much in this game. Most of their units are either routed quickly by the mortars. Like seriously, for some reason mortars have been really good recently. I don't know why. They have been fairly accurate, their explosions are really effective, and yeah, a cheap, effective combination of firepower. Oh, right, Caradoc, yeah. So what happened was the hosts of ODM's The Ladies' Quest tournament, including Hanadin and including Hanadin, they offered to give me access to the replay files of the Ladies' Quest tournament. And seeing that the Chaos Dwarf DLC is right around the corner, I decided, you know what, before we switch the versions, we might as well just cast some games on the channel. And yeah, they did say I can put on an at everyone on the Discord, so I just did. Although I did use at here, which is a different thing, which only pings people who are online. But yeah, thanks for joining the stream and providing your viewership and sub count. Anyways, for the rest of the army, I like this build. A very degenerate build, for sure. Yeah, I think I'm gonna watch this. Oh god, this is gonna be ridiculous. Oh, I like this build. Nope, I don't want Skaven route. We will check this Empire versus Lizardmen build later because they do have a Skink Oracle. But I want to check this out. Sorry guys, this is gonna be a long grind. Oh, and the worst thing is they don't even see each other because of the hill in the middle, Alpine Ridge. Oh, this is beautiful. Yeah, this is the group stage from the Ladies Quest. So, just a lot of replays. Human Boy will be casting the stage of 16, I think tomorrow. I think so. Keep an eye out for any notifications. Anyways, yeah, keep an eye out for any notifications. And anyways, we'll be going back into the battle here. Just a really long grind build with zombies on one hand, backed up by grave guards, more grave guards, and 4 grave guards, and then more infantry in terms of grave guards with great weapons, 8 of them in total, 4 for each variant, while in the skies we have Vampire Lord, a generic version, going in with only raise stat and invocation of Nahak, plus a bunch of armor piercing attacks. Now for the Vampires, a front line of Death Guards with pole arms, they will trade well against zombies, but against grave guards who have anti-infantry, this might not be the case, although they do have hunger, so that grants them health. And they do have armor piercing, which helps them to cut down enemy units at the back. Some bombers, 2 bombers in fact, and then a bunch of Lamprey's Revenge. More pole arms, but this time the cheaper ones. Zombie Pirate, that kind of mobs, and more that kind of mobs. While Lamprey's Revenge and regular Rotting Promethean will be beating back the Felbets. The Vampire Lord has dived down, doing some great damage to Count Noctilus. The charge damage was really nasty. While over here, Pit of Shades will be deleting some of these Grave Guards, who are being held down by the Zombie Pirate Deccan mobs. In the front line, Death Guards are slowly being grinded down by zombies and Grave Guards, but they are also grinding down the Grave Guards. And the great thing is, yeah, the bad thing for the Vampire count is that they are subjected to a lot of these explosion damage, and the Grave Guards are just nuked, while the Death Guards are cutting them down with their great attacking stats. They do have Frenzy after all. They have Frenzy, they have Hunger, they have Armor Piercing. So, despite being anti-large specialty, they still trade fairly well. While the sheer weight of Armored Monster, something that the Vampire counts really struggle to deal with, is now charging straight into the front line. Death Guards are now taking some damage. Probably got hit by a breath attack earlier. Nope, they did not. So, it's just the Grave Guards and White King doing all the damage, and some of the kills from the Vampire Lord as well. Now, the Lamprey's Revenge would be an annoying unit for the Vampire counts to deal with. They have great melee defense, and also great armors, which means they don't take much damage from regular Grave Guards. Although the armor piercing ones would be great against them, but then again, the Grave Guards with great weapons are anti-infantry, so not the greatest trait for them against Lamprey's Revenge either. Plus, there's also a lot of Rotting Prometheans here, providing more anti-armor holding power, but the Grave Guard seems to be slowly winning the infantry fight, as they do have a much wider build and more average in quality than the very tall, very elite Vampire build. Now, more and more Vampire monsters are dragged down, but the main blob in the middle are still very much healthy. Perhaps a Sternsman would be great for the Vampire counts, just giving a bit more holding power with their elite stats and also regeneration, but alas, that's not gonna be much use here. Are there more invocations of Nahak? I'm not seeing... I don't know whether I missed the spells, or it's just that not a lot of spells were cast, but there's not a lot of stuff going on in the in terms of support for the Vampire count. Especially with only regular corpse cards instead of Unholy Lodestone, they're not receiving any healing and are slowly being grind down. Like all these grave cards are being grind down. Sure, the Rigor Mortis are here to support, providing some pretty good stats buff and bigger regeneration, but overall they're having a rough time. Now the Vampire Lord dives down once again to hit Noctilus, even dropping in a zombie summon. But Count Noctilus is not one who shy away from zombie summons. He has more zombie summons if you try to summon zombies, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, he does have... Oh, he used up all his Moon Dial, and there's no raise dead, so okay. So no more summon of from Count Noctilus. And the vampire counts are slowly dragging back in terms of balance of power as the vampire host army is being worn down slowly but surely. Death Gods being cut down by Grave Gods with great weapons. Their anti-infantry armor piercing is very helpful indeed in dealing with the halberd unit. Rotting Promethean still fighting hard, especially the regenerating Lamprey's Revenge. Count Noctilus fighting hard, but it seems that he is struggling to deal with the large monster here for some reason. Despite being an elite melee combatant, he has 60 melee defense, and he's dead. And he's dead. Okay, perhaps the White King also helped. And without Count Noctilus, it's straight up. Yeah, there's not much the Vampirites can do to turn the tide around. And victory shall goes to the Vampire Count. Fuck this build. Vampire Count, Grave Guards did solid damage overall. Just really trading really well with their anti-infantry bonus. These guys got deleted possibly by the Pit of Shade, so not much damage they did. Yeah, they didn't do much damage. Felbats tie down the bomber crew, which is very important here to shut down the damaging firepower. Like one of them couldn't even earn back their value, the other also have limited value. Normally they can do a lot of stuff, but I almost felt that if the Vampire Coast formed an elite box, that would have been a much better way to deal with the Vampire Count. Saving up the extra money, just don't go for bombers and go straight for something like, say, more Death Guards, really. And possibly would be a great fight. What else? Vampire Lord, for some reason, it hit hard against Count Noctilus. Despite Count Noctilus is on foot, is a great melee combatant, and has healing, and has anti-large. For some reason, this Vampire Lord charging in and just wipes the floor with Count Noctilus. And Count Noctilus had a limited damage value, while this Vampire Lord just getting 3,800 gold worth of damage value. Yeah. Infantry wise, not much. Yeah, it's mostly this guy doing all the damage here. And the White King did some solid damage as well. Vampire Coast, the Death Guards didn't quite earn back their own value, trading against anti-infantry. Infantry, not their strong suit. They were probably expecting more monsters here instead of an infantry build, but oh well. Yeah, just not a great engagement for them. Lamprey's Revenge, they were not able to use up their healing before the game was forfeited, so not much damage value, not much damage value for the rest of the army either. Really, it's the disappointing Count Noctilus being knocked down again and getting damaged again and again by the Vampire Lord. Somehow the hits landed true and landed home. Okay, so let's see. Let's go on to the Lizardmen, because somehow we are seeing a Skink Oracle on a Troglodyte. It's not like they can go on foot, so they has to be on Troglodyte. So that would be an interesting unit to see. Now as for army build, AC Maiden going for... Now this is something I haven't seen in a while. Shit, I forgot his name. Nakai the Wanderer. Yeah, it's been so long. I even made an army build with him before, but yeah, it's been so long since I saw him, so yeah. Don't know what to say. Not sure what's the application here, but Skink Oracle, very good. A very good anti-single entity firepower, but the range is kind of shorter than even the War Wagon, so it's kind of fragile. We'll see what happens here. It's nobody uses them for quite a while, ever since they fixed the bug. Anyways, Empire Knights trying to push away the Chameleon Skinks, but knowing that they will be slowed down to around 66 speed, while the Chameleon Skinks are fairly fast, they will not be able to catch up. So instead, the War Wagons are pushing up, while the rest of the Empire troops are pushing up towards the Saurus Warriors, a line of Saurus Warriors, and a single cohort of Sotek, backed up by Bastiladon with Rev Crystal, Bastiladon with Arc of Sotek, Nakai the Wanderer charging into melee combat. At the back, Khorne Riders, a single Red Crested Skink pulling back. They don't want to deal with the Empire Knights or the Swordsmen. And the Saurus Warriors will be the main breaching power against the Empire front line. As for the Empire, Halberdiers holding the flanks in the middle. swordsmen. And on the flank here, War Wagons opening up at the Skink Oracle, doing some massive damage. But the healing plus Rev Crystal is sustaining his HP, so all the healing coming in quite handy. At the back, 2 Huntsmen and another War Wagon holding back this flank with the help of some Halberds. Now, the Troglodon is going in for Karl Franz. For some reason, like, I would expect him to just stay back and probably shoot, but I guess he wants to use that armor piercing plus the shock damage from the Khorne Riders. Or perhaps it was accidentally in melee mode. Yeah, he needs to pull back before he gets killed by Karl Franz and start shooting. Anyways, Rev Crystal plus the Arc of Sotek are wreaking havoc among Empire lines. Khorne Riders tied down by Empire Knights, and the Skink Oracle is also tied down in melee combat. It needs to start moving out and start shooting at some of these War Wagons. While Nakai is taking quite a bit of damage from the combination of firepower, but at least the infantry of the Empire army is slowly being whittled down. Another heal comes in for the Lizardmen, giving some Earth Blood, topping up their healing. The Skink Oracle is really conserving their ammo here. Not sure whether it's a good choice. Nakai the Wanderer is taking a lot of damage, while the Bastiladon is trying to push, but yeah, Nakai is just not having a good time whatsoever. At the back, Rev Crystal getting way out of position. They need to return and start healing, dumping down heals for the units at the back, because the War Wagons are taking a heavy toll. Are forcing the Lizardmen units to pay a heavy toll, while the Khorne Riders trying to fight back some Empire Knights, but overchased, now being surrounded by more Empire Knights. They will be run down soon. While the Rev Crystal here is singled out and unfortunately will be picked off by a combination of anti-large fire, armor-piercing fire, and Karl Franz himself. Now the Nakai do have one very good ability, and does he have it today? Yep, Primal Roar, granting physical resistance to nearby units and 40 melee attack, but the problem is it will rampage surrounding units, so it needs to be careful when you're trying to use it. I made a weird army build before with just a blob of very powerful melee units, including Star Chamber Guardians plus Kroxigors plus the Sacred Kroxigor, the RR version. Basically a very elite blob of monster, and just kind of look at the damage from the Troglodon, chipping away a massive chunk of health from Karl Franz. But I feel like it's almost better to just shoot at the War Wagons, just trying to rout them off, but unfortunately that's not gonna happen, and the Lizardman is in great trouble right now. Ugh. Things are looking really rough for the Lizardmen. Skink Oracle is still here, but the 18 ammo on there is still not used, and it's a massive waste, honestly. You should have just keep using it instead of charging into melee combat, because he will not beat Karl Franz in melee. Just shoot it! Just shoot it! Come on! Shoot! Is he shooting? No, he's not. Set time. Instead, Flock of Doom draining the health of all these Empire units, trying to equalize the fight a bit. At the very far side, the Bastiladon with Rev Crystal came back, but whether it will be enough, I don't think so. I highly doubt it. Nakai being surrounded as well. Yeah, it's not good. Doesn't look good. What the Lizardman can do is charge in with the Khorne Riders and tie down Karl Franz and start beating him up. And just activate Primal Rage, and that will help a lot. And Primal Roar is activated. 20% physical resistance plus 40 melee attack. Just everything is beating down Karl Franz right now. The problem is whether the remaining units can kill off the remaining Empire units after Karl Franz is done for. It's very, very dicey here, and Karl Franz is slowly but surely pushing out of this blob, and he was let out back into the skies. Now, the Skink Oracle can try to finish him with a bit of firepower. Why are you not shooting? Shoot! Come on, shoot! Yep, and a great shot. But it's not enough to rout off Karl Franz, unfortunately. And Nakai is routed. The Bastiladon with Rev Crystal is not dumping in the Rev Crystal anywhere. So actually he did quite a bit of healing. Huh, okay. Okay, and Karl Franz is dead, but the problem is the 3 War Wagons here. Now the Troglodon can possibly, I'm not sure, but possibly has the firepower to shoot up 2 units of the war wagons as long as they can stop shooting at him. But I don't know if I really don't know if there's enough firepower to deal with the war wagons. At least Karl Franz is dead, all thanks to the primal roar inciting the courage in everyone's heart surrounding Nakai and just beating him down in that one engagement. A very key loss for the Empire actually, and a key win for the Lizardmen. But yeah, war wagons are also running low on ammo. The Khorne riders are low in health, sure, but the Skink Oracle plus the Ref Crystal can heal up quite a bit of health in this little Lizardman blob here. And the Core of Soul Attack, after using that Refuse to Die, are still not dead, and they are unbreakable indeed, so they are just holding. Now, this is where I suppose this is where the healing, where the earlier game conserving ammo stuff comes in quite handy. The Troglodon can start shooting, I suppose, but another heal come in, topping up the health of the Bastillodon, Nakai, and the Skink Oracle. Arc of Sotak also charging in to hit up the War Wagon, forcing the shots out at stuff, and using the backpack skinks, the Skink backpack javelins to chip away the health of the War Wagons as well. Now over here, Core of Sotak refused to die for now, just not taking model damage. They're taking HP damage for sure, but the models are not dead yet. And yeah, the Lizardmen are very wisely holding back a lot of their forces. Now, the balance of power is slowly edging towards the favor of the Lizardmen, as they do have a lot more single entity staying power left here, and a lot of them are armor piercing. Actually, all of them are armor piercing, and all that's left for the Empire is some huntsmen to shoot them down, which they can probably try to shut down with a bit of a mass bullying, using the mass of dinosaurs to bully them and push through and all that. But and there's still this Ref Crystal who came back, and things are looking pretty neat for the. Wait, does that count? Does that count as? I'm not sure whether that counts as attacking rule, but the game. But Fruit Roost does says that in late game situations you can stand and just take hits instead of you can stand and take weather enemy firepower instead of trying to push enemy missile units. But anyways, I'm not the rule enforcer of the tournament, so I'm just here for casting. So anyways, War Wagons charging in, but then everything here is armor piercing. Nakai charging in, bashing the Huntsman. Look at how happy he is in the melee combat. Good boy. The good crocodile boy. And yeah, the War Wagons are beaten up pretty bad by all those armor-piercing monsters. And look at him go! Look at Nakai go! I always love his charging animation. Just hippity-hoppity. Just skipping towards his enemy, skipping into a fight and pummeling, punting everyone around with his giant paddle. Just beautiful. Oh, shit. But anyways, Skink Oracle charging into Huntsman. There's not really much the Empire can do here, and that shall be it. Somehow the ammo conservation on the Skink Oracle didn't hurt them that bad. Although there are some dicey engagements for the Lizardmen for sure. Nakai did some meh value. Most of the damage is actually dealt by the Arc of Sotak and the Skink Oracle, and one of these Khorne riders who managed to beat down Karl Franz. Code of Sotak did some really good damage. Not quite enough to earn back their own value, but considering they're constantly charged by Empire Knights and fighting against non-armor piercing, unarmored troops, it's fine. It's fine for what they are doing. They refuse to die after all, and the Unbreakable trait really helps. Sora's infantry did okay, and Skinks got run down somewhere. I'm not sure. And yeah, all the healing, the double healing from Skink Oracle and from the Bastillodon really helped out here. And honestly, a very good combo from the Lizardmen here, using the healing to constantly buff up the constantly replenish the HP of the single entities, and the single entities are just good. For some reason. Yeah. You've got the anti-large single entity, anti-infantry single entity, and then you've got the anti-blob single entity, and 2 healing single entities. Just nice. It's just pretty darn good. And the Primal Primal Rage. I forgot the name of the ability, but yeah. Nakai's unique ability gives 40 bonus attack, physical resistance, and rampage. So everything there just stick around Karl Franz. The rampage isn't a problem because there's only Karl Franz to rampage into, and everyone just goes straight into Karl Franz and beat his ass up. So Karl Franz, poor guy, being surrounded by a bunch of armor-piercing single entities and some Khorne spear riders, he got beaten up quite hard. Yikes. The War Wagons did a lot of damage. After all, they are indeed the more powerful unit, probably one of the more broken units in the current meta, but through the sheer healing and the missile resistance from their scaly skins, the Lizardmen actually tanked it out. Empire Knights, though, no good engagements whatsoever in this matchup other than charging some poor skinks. So this one got some good value, the other two not so much. Infantry wise, they got beaten up by Sauruses, so yeah, they died. While the Huntsmen did some pretty good damage, but personally I think when you try to bring Huntsmen, it's better, like when you try to bring Huntsmen and you're expecting some heavily armored monsters, you're just better off with Balthasar Gelt with his Plague of Rust. Or you can try to bring a Shadowcaster plus a Witch Hunter to just double debuff enemy armor. But yeah, overall, pretty solid stuff. A pretty good game, yeah. And a very niche build, which I really appreciate. The Skink Oracle there, some really neat stuff indeed. Okay, so next game, what have we seen here? Yeah, no more Dark Elves. No more Dark Elves for the day. Skavens is also a no. Yeah, maybe not. If you're still watching and if anyone's still watching and you have any matchups you want to see, or at least factions you want to see, oh wait, I want to see this. Nurgle. We haven't seen Nurgle so far. We might do a Slaanesh at some point later, but we haven't seen a Nurgle so far, so we're gonna check out Nurgle. Also, strat games with Nurgle versus Keaton. Strat games going for a rather strat game build. Going for a full wide formation, just sheer numbers. 8 Marauders in total, 3 Warhounds with poison, and 5 Nurglings, plus a very strong single entity core with a Chaos Sorcerer Lord 2 Exalted Hero of Nurgle, plus a single Soul Grinder with the Mortar Firepower. The Plate Mortar. Now for the Poop Mortar. Anyways, High Elf monsters. There's a once and only Emmerich and his dragon. I forgot how to pronounce his name again. Front line of spears backed up by Loafen Sea God. 4 of them, in fact, a single Mage of Life for healing and 2 Dragon Princes for mobility. Anyways, we'll be doing a bit of fast forward here as the Soul Grinder is bombarding the Loafen Sea God, doing some really nasty damage with the scatter shots. While Emmerich getting a little too close here, he wants to dive down and silence the Soul Grinder, but seeing all these single entities grouping up together, yeah, he doesn't want to go in. He does have a nice breath attack onto the Soul Grinder, but not quite enough to do the damage he wants. And while in the front line, Nurglings will be ran down by Dragon Princes. No doubt for that, due to the heavy armor of the Dragon Princes and whatnot. But the Exalted Hero are here to help, and they do have great armor piercing with their great axes. The mortar are still firing. The Plague Mortar is still firing and bombarding these Loafen Sea Gods, just absolutely shredding their ranks. While the Marauders of Nurgle, they are slowly circling around the flank here, trying to get through the High Elf staunch line of spears and start compromising Loafen Sea God. At the back here, seeing that all the single entities of all the characters of the Nurgle army are busy fighting spears and Dragon Princes, Emmerich will be dive bombing the Soul Grinder, debuffing him with the Lord of Dragons down to 2 attack and 11 defense. Surrounded by Dragon Princes as well, he is in great trouble, but he will be pulling out with his mass advantage, while the Nurgle characters are coming in to support. But they are quite pinned by a combination of spears and cavalry. But yeah, when you're blocked up, just cut down whatever in front of you. Unfortunately, the Nurglings are gone, but more Nurglings are coming in since they're a cheap chaff after all. Dragon Princes trying to strike the Nurglings from the back, and they should be able to make short work of the lesser demons. However, the Lothland Sea Guard are now compromised, as the sheer numbers of Marauders are really overwhelming the High Elf staunch line of spears. The spearmen in the middle are holding, but there's nothing to protect them from the flanks. Imric, a nice breath attack onto their Great Weapon Marauders, and after a dive bomb, these Great Weapon Marauders should be routed, terror routed at least. Oh, they're just straight up routing, and will take some time before they can come back. Dragon Princes, though, unfortunately being surrounded by a sheer number of Warhounds, 2 Warhounds, plus 2 Exalted Hero of Nurgle who are healing from Fecundity, the Soul Grinder as well. All the damage Imric dealt has been basically recuperated with the nasty healing of the Nurgle worshippers. Staunch line of spears still fighting in the front line, and oh boy, the Plague Mortar actually doing some nice damage to the Dragon Princes. More Marauders of Nurgle now flooding the Lothland Sea Guard. All 4 Lothland Sea Guards have been compromised without anything to protect them, and now with the Dragon Princes pulling back, one of them routed off the map. Oh shit, this one actually shattered. So there's only, what, 1 Dragon Prince on the field? Yeah, 1 Dragon Princess on the field. And there's a lack of units to counteract the Warhounds and all the stuff from the front line, and some of the spears are not holding. And these Dragon Princes are taking massive damage from the armor-piercing explosions. I swear, in this current patch, all the explosion damage are for some reason buffed. This was supposed to be an anti-infantry tool, but even against cavalry it can do some nasty stuff. But Imric is here, and it will be saving the Lothland Sea Guard from the Marauders of Nurgle. Brett or Wood Elves? I don't know. I don't think there's any Bretonnian replay. There are some Wood Elves somewhere, but yeah, we'll dig through the replays a bit and let's see. Anyways, Imric here charging. Imric just doesn't really have a good engagement right now. If he tries to land in the middle blob, he'll get hunted down by all these Exalted Hero of Nurgle. If he tries to dive down over here, oh well, I guess Soul Grinder of Nurgle is not a bad choice. Just beating him down. But also, since he's away from other engagements, all the spears are losing, Lothland Sea Guard are losing. These spears are being overwhelmed alongside with some Dragon Princes. All the numbers game from the Nurgle is putting a heavy toll on the High Elf army. And yeah, some of these spears are slowly grind down. Lothland Sea Guards are also going to be gone soon. Dragon Princes running low in health, while the Exalted Hero of Nurgle are cutting them down 1 or 2 at a time. Yep, there goes 1 more model. Yeah, one at a time. And the Dragon Princess will eventually be cut down and destroyed. There are still some spears, staunch line of spears holding, but are they enough? I do genuinely doubt it. The balance of power is still fairly even, but against all 3 single entities, even Imric himself would struggle in this kind of combat. And especially with the Soul Grinder, if he actually comes in and start hacking down Imric, then it's going to be a huge trouble. Plus, all these Nurgle army, they do have healing. So now, there are some Earthbloods at the back trying to top up the Dragon Princes, while Imric trying to do damage to the characters, not quite successful. The Warhounds will try to elude the grasp of the Dragon Princes, but not quite successful as well, as they are now, some of them are being tied down and dragged down. But then here comes the Nurgle heroes, who will be intercepting the Dragon Princes, allowing some counter charge from the Chaos Warhounds, flooding the Dragon Princes with sheer numbers. Yes, they have heavy armor, yes, they have physical resistance, but that doesn't matter when there's so much armor piercing in the vicinity, especially with Soul Grinder jumping in. And the Dragon Princess, without any immune to psychology, will be terrified, as the terror doesn't really matter anyways, as their health is rather low and will be simply routed normally. But yeah, with the Dragon Princess routed, there's nothing to support Imric over here. The spears are still beating back Marauders over here, but yeah, they're just not doing much. They really struggle to do the damage, and Nurgle's balance of power is slowly edging towards their favor. The single entities are still hunting down Imric, who cannot get back onto the skies because everything is so closely following him. And yeah. We'll do a bit of fast forward here as the Dragon Princes are now chased down by the Chaos Warhound. And all these spears here are just flooded and overwhelmed. Like, every time they try to put up a resistance, something comes in. All 3 Nurgle single entities comes in and chop them down with the terror of the Soul Grinder as well. Imrik being forced to engage in melee as there's nothing from the High Elf army that comes back other than the Mage of Life. And surrounded by single entities, Imrik is going down, leaving only the Mage of Life there, but army losses hits, and it shall be the victory to the grandfather, Nurgle. Damage-wise, the Marauders of Nurgle did pretty decent. Like, decent overall, not the most amazing, but really the carrier of the games are Soul Grinder of Nurgle, who bombarded the ranks of all these Lothland Sea God, the Exalted Hero who cut down Imrik, and then the Infantry of Nurgle, overwhelming enemies with sheer numbers, compromising their missiles, and also dragging down the limited mobility of the High Elf army with the Warhounds and whatnot, forcing them to have rather low damage value overall. Imrik still did a lot of damage, but you're fighting against Nurgle, and you should always expect your damage value to be inflated because of their sheer healing. And the Lothland Sea God were not able to do much here, being threatened by both the Plague Mortar Bombardment and the Warhound attacks. Now, Bretonnian or Wood Elves. Bretonnian is a hard thing to find, because you can't fucking find them. That's the problem here. Ugh. Nobody uses Bretonnians anymore. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I don't think I've seen a single Bretonnian when I downloaded all these files. Yep, not a single Bretonnian. Sad times. I'm sorry, but we can probably make do with some Wood Elves. Which we do have some Wood Elf gameplay. Yeah, there we go. But they do involve fucking Dark Elves, so... ah well. Oh well, Dark Elves it is. Butcherbird against Curio Marco Magno versus Curio. Okay, let's try this one. This looks interesting. A full melee rush of Wood Elf Cavalry. Okay, so this is actually among the playoffs where certain players still have to decide between tiebreakers and stuff to see who advances to the next stage. So, a front line of Dryads from... shit, I forgot which one this is. I think it's Butcherbird. But anyways, a full front line of Dryads flanked by Wild Riders plus Glade Riders with spears. More Wild Riders on the other side, and one of them the Wild Hunters of Khorne, and also, interesting enough, a single Sisters of the Fallen. In the skies, a melee Glade Lord, and on the ground, a single Branch Wraith supporting the army with magic. Now here comes a first cav engagement here. Glade Riders and Sisters of the Fallen charging in, doing some very minor damage, but a very nice cast of Curse of Aura Air, debuffing the stats of all the stuff in this fight, reducing their damage output and buffing the damage output of the Sisters and Glade Riders despite being hit by overwhelming numbers. And with the physical resistance on the Sisters of the Fallen, they actually managed to hold this 40% actually. They managed to hold in this melee fight for quite a long while over here Khorne Knights are being hit hard, overwhelmed by a combination of Glade Riders and Wild Riders, taking massive damage for some reason. The the Dark Riders with repeater crossbows are doing damage, but they're just slowly chipping away the damage, while the sisters are terrified, forcing more Glade Riders and Wild Riders to engage. But over here, this is a very beneficial engagement for the Wood Elves, as the Wild Riders are, I think they got a charge on the Cold One Riders, on the Cold One Knights and the Dark Riders, plus an area of an area of effect debuff from the Glade Lord, the Helm of Discord, lowering the stats of these Cold One Knights, boosting the damage output of all these Wood Elf units, and the Cold One Knights will be destroyed and terrified away by the presence of a giant forest dragon. Now, as for the melee engagement in the front line, Dryads would be trading well against Bleak Swords, although some chill wind from Malekith would be equalizing the fights quite a bit, ignoring their physical resistance and armor. Over here, Wild Hunters of Khorne being hit up by Scroll of Shooting, having 40% of damage resistance against physical damage, and should be able to tank out a lot of these damage for a while before start suffering heavy losses again. Their HP losses are currently stabilized, but once the Scroll wears off, they will start taking losses. But that buys time for the flanks to be won by the Wood Elves. Over here, the Dryads are still beating back the Dread Spears, and will, especially with the help of some Wild Riders, while over here Glade Lord is really getting his eyes onto Malekith, who is now tied down by a combination of Glade Riders and Wild Hunters of Khorne, who does have anti-launch damage. A nice Earthblood here, topping up 3 units at once, trying to get as much heal from the spell as possible. And now with Malekith tied down by all the Reindeer Cavalry, he is taking quite a bit of damage. Actually, no, he's constantly moving, so a lot of attacks kept missing. But anyways, the Wood Elf managed to overwhelm the Harpies, but with this Dread Spear so close by supporting, they decided, you know what, we'll be pulling back our mobility and fight a better engagement elsewhere, as the Wood Elf do not have a superior force on this end. And not on this end either, as their Wild Riders and Glade Riders are forced to pull back away from this blob of Bleak Swords and Dread Spears. So instead, all these Wild Riders are just flooding over to help out and try to push off the Scourge Runner chariots, while Malekith is trying to fly back and support his underlings. But yeah, not much happening right now, because both are just trying to chase off enemy isolated elements. There are some Dark Riders charging in, countercharged by Wild Riders, and they will get wrecked. Malekith tries to catch up with the Hunters of Khorne, but he is also tied down in return. The Glade Lord is hitting up the Malekith with the help of the Wild Riders. Earthblood here counteracting the Soul Stealer, trying to reduce the HP losses on the Wild Hunters of Khorne and the Wild Riders with shields. But that might not be enough here, as the Wild Hunters of Khorne are still taking constant damage, especially with the crossfire from the one Scourge Runner chariot unit. But Malekith is taking some massive beating. A nice match animation here, smacking Malekith onto the ground, doing some pretty nasty damage. But then the Dread Spears are here, so the Wild Riders have no choice but to pull out, otherwise they will take significant damage to the anti-launch spears. On the other side, Dread Spears are fighting the Dryads, which is not a great engagement for them, especially when being flooded by all these Wood Elf mobility. They will take substantial shock damage. Over here, Dryads fighting against Dread Spears as well, especially with Branch Wraith distracting Malekith. The Glade Lord can freely cycle charge into the rear of Malekith. So Malekith, seeing this kind of engagement, decided to nope out of there and try to find somewhere to fight. Over here, Dread Spears slowly but steadily being worked down by the Dryads. These Bleak Swords are not long for this world either, being so low in leadership and health, while Malekith dives down hoping to rout off the Wild Riders, who are trying to pressure the Scourge Runner chariots. But unfortunately, the Wild Riders are routed, leaving 2 very strong presence of single entities in the area. Why Wood Elf Lord has no 360 shooting like sisters? That's probably because they're on the dragon. They don't have 360 on the dragon. But well, sisters, they have 2 people on the dragon, so one of them can shoot at, one of them can turn around and shoot. Well, this guy has to sit on his... If you look at his seat, it's literally a throne. He can't turn around in that seat. But the sisters, one of them is facing towards the back, I suppose. But yeah. Anyways, Malekith dives down, tries to rout off. What? Okay. So trying to rout off the Glade Riders and also support the Scourge Runners, but then the Glade Lord quickly follows suit, debuffing this entire area with the Helm of Discord, down to 1 attack and 0 defense for the Scourge Runners, and 34 attack, 24 defense for Malekith himself, and starts taking quite a bit of damage from the Glade Lord. And the remaining Dark Elf units simply do not have the speed to quickly reinforce, leaving Malekith alone in the fight for quite a while. Soul Stealer is constantly dropped into the blob, draining the health of a lot of remaining HP. Is there Soul Stealer? No. Okay, Soul Stealer coming in as it was cancelled by the Breath Attack, but that doesn't matter. Soul Stealer comes in, drain away the health, but then counteracted by the Earth Blood. And they're just duking it out. But at this point, with multiple entities here, the Dark Elf cannot Psycho Charge, but the Wood Elf can. So the Glade Lord, after taking some minor damage, decided to pull back, allow the Branch Wraith to take the fight and charge in again. And then the Branch Wraith also comes in to help, while the Dryads are beating back the remaining Dress Spears. Another match animation coming in. Who's gonna win this? And Malekith got suplexed on the ground. And that should be the last of Malekith's HP, being once again beaten back. Oh, man. It's a nasty hit. I don't think Glade Lord has 360. I don't think either Glade Lord has 360 back in Game 2 as well. Might have to check, but I don't think they do. But yeah, some really cool match animations in the game. Don't usually see them, but hey, cool stuff. Dryads did pretty decent against Dress Spears and Bleak Swords. Wild Riders did okay, not the greatest, but not bad either. Sisters of the Fallen, they were more like a tank unit if they were not able to use their javelins. So basically was there to hold back Malekith and a bunch of Khorne Knights and Dark Riders, while the Glade Lord and his brethren are working down the other flank of the Dark Elf mobility. The Wild Hunters of Khorne did some pretty solid damage, the Wild Riders, the Glade Riders as well. But damage value really solid stuff from the Glade Lord. Especially when he's chasing after Malekith, he can still actually shoot and do damage against Malekith. And of course, the Helm of Discord, a really powerful item, an area of effect, enfeebling foe, with pretty good duration as well, and no cost to Winds of Magic. Always good to have that ability, especially when you're going for a melee rush like this. Now for the Dark Elf army, Malekith got some solid damage, but a lot of that got mitigated by the sheer healing from the Branch Wraith. Dark Riders, just not a great trade against Wild Riders and Glade Riders. Khorne Knights, not doing quite well either. They don't have the greatest stats after all. While the rest of the army here, Scourge Runners did okay. Crossbow, Repeater Crossbow, Dark Riders did some nice damage, but not the greatest skirmishing cavalry either. And Bleak Swords, Dress Spears did okay, but unfortunately not able to carry the game, even with the damage value on Malekith, because, well, the Khorne Knights didn't really carry their weight. But yeah, we do need more animations like that, Mr. Casual. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick 2-3 minute break, come back in a sec. And I'm back. So, what's next? We check out Wood Elves. We don't have Bretonia, unfortunately. We checked out... This might be interesting. Dragon Ogre Shagoffs and a full skirmishing build versus Khorne. I can see this going badly for Khorne, but who knows? Let's have a look. This feels a horrible matchup for Khorne, the build but we'll see. Maybe Khorne can pull out something with Alflarian, but Strike Games and his ridiculous Rohirrim builds. God damn it. I feel bad for Alflarian Shades already, but yeah, let's see. So, there's no missiles on Khorne's side, and all the Marauders are gonna get Psycho Charged to death. Or skirmish to death. And Khorne really can't do much about it. What can they do? Like 4 Murder Horse Masters, 4 Warhounds, actually 3 Warhounds with poisons, 4 Hellstriders, 3 Hellstriders, 2 Dragon Ogres, and a single Archaeon ever chosen with Searing Doom and Spirit Leech. Both are very good kiting spells with bombardment and single entity damage. While there's a Bloodthirster in the sky, Scabra in the Exile is pushing. Chaos Warriors of Khorne are already taking substantial damage from all the Javelins, who have pretty decent armor piercing at 8 versus at 8 armor piercing per shot. Now Flash Hounds are still pushing them away, but they don't want to get too close, as they will also take massive damage from all those javelins. The Chaos Warhounds of Khorne are here to stand by, but yeah, they need to send out the shielded Marauders to absorb the missiles, but I don't think Strike Games will give them a chance for that, and instead keep chugging those javelins into the Flesh Hounds, which is what they're doing here. Oh, getting too close to the Warhounds, but that might be a trap here, as there is a nice counter charge from the Chaos Warhounds, Hellstriders, and Dragon Ogres. Dragon Ogres are also charging in, trying to overwhelm the Khorne forces. And as you can see here, the Chaos Warhounds are already giving out the first route. They will return, but that means they also only have 2 more. They only have 1 more returning chance, as the 3rd time they routed, they will get shattered. And it seems that the Warriors of Chaos army is trying quite hard to circle around and pick apart this Khorne formation and overwhelm them. As you can see here, Flesh Hounds being forced into engagement against the Horse Masters, and now the Warhounds are coming in. The Chaos Warhounds with poison are overwhelming these Flesh Hounds with massive impact damage, trying to shock them into fading away, and they are indeed fading and quickly disappearing from the Materium. Now there are more Chaos Warhounds coming back in, hoping to tie down, return the favor, but they are now lowering in leadership and routed once more. This is the 2nd time they rout, and the 3rd time they rout, they will shatter. This is the other Warhound, the relatively healthy one. They also got routed. Very bad. Not the greatest engagement for the Khorne army. Dragon Ogres tied down by the Flesh Hounds, but Scaveran and Bloodthirster are not engaging them. Instead, they're trying to push away the Marauder Horse Masters. Let's see if... nope, it doesn't seem like Scaveran has any breath attack to deal with the skirmishers. So he is left alone in the middle here, forcing a lot of stuff coming into melee combat with him, but he's not taking it too well. The damage spike is already happening, as you can see here. A massive Searing Doom is coming in as well, chipping away the health of mostly friendly fire, really? Mostly the Dragon Ogre Shackle. Searing Doom, for some reason, is actually surprisingly good, even against large entities. So, yeah. The Dragon Ogres did take a lot of damage from the Searing Doom. Scabran just yeeting himself deeper and deeper into enemy formations. Dragon Ogres routed by the overwhelming forces of Khorne, especially with the anti-lodge here dragging their units down. But Scabran is in massive trouble. Archaeon is beating the crap out of him, while there's no supporting units to screen out Scabra and the Exile. He is also on the verge of fading away with all the damage he has taken, just constantly chipped away by javelins and Archaeon's armor piercing. And he shall soon fade away from the Materium returning to the warp. Yeah, you can see that he is not returning his leadership here. Constantly fading, constantly fading. He's not doing much damage either, only 600 something gold. He is an expensive legendary lord, and this is a massive loss for Khorne. But the balance of power is still relatively even though, for some reason. But I guess it's because of all these attrition from the Chaos Warhounds with poison, and some of these Dragon Ogres taking damage, Hellstriders being routed for a bit. And the Khorne army do have a very strong infantry present, while the Bloodthirster is now beating the hell out of Archaon and returning the favor, avenging for his fallen lord, as well. Skaven is gone from the fray. Now, Marauders of Khorne here, being slightly isolated, is now overwhelmed by sheer forces of Marauder Horsemasters and Warhounds. Not a lot of shock damage though, so the Horsemasters and Warhounds will be pulling back while Archaon is still getting his crap beaten out of him by the Bloodthirster, who doesn't have anything but his just sheer physical and spell resistance, but Archaon doesn't care, he has magic resistance. He has magic attack, so it ignores both resistance and constantly strikes damage into the Bloodthirster. And with all the blobbed up Khorne infantry here, it's an amazing opportunity for an overcast Searing Doom, just pushing the balance of power closer and closer to the favor of the Chaos army. Now the Warriors of Chaos do have to be careful with the Halberds though, because some of them are tying down the Dragon Ogres and doing some nice damage overall. But what Strike Game could have done, I guess, is probably just charge in the Marauder Horsemasters and use the shock damage to break apart the Halberd Warriors. And this is exactly what he did here. With Archaon's present, plus the Warhounds counter-charging, the Marauder Horsemasters also shooting into the fray, Dragon Ogres charging, the shock damage was enough to crush the leadership of the Chaos Warriors of Khorne and Marauders. It's really like the last straw here. And then more Searing Dooms coming in to clear out the heavily armored Khorne infantry blob. And pretty decent damage. And the Bloodthirster is gone. Army losses is soon to hit, as there's nothing more to hold the balance of power for the Khorne army. Are Bloodthirster good? Mr. Casual, I don't think they are that great. As you can see here, he was beating Archaon, but just not a lot of damage dealt overall. Even Scarbrand, he's just meh. 500 gold worth of damage value. That sucks. Infantry also sucks. Being a slower, clumsier army, it's rather prone for them to get picked apart by this kind of full-on mobility build, combined with their skirmishing firepower. So quite unfortunate for Eltharian Shades here. These Chaos Warriors with Halberds did some good damage against the Dragon Ogres, but that's about it. The Warhounds and the Fleshhounds doesn't have the numbers to handle all these House Riders, Marauder Horsemasters, and the Dragon Ogres. While Archaon just beating the hell out of two of the Bloodthirsters with the support of some of these Dragon Ogres, but they didn't actually do that much damage, but more like a bodyguard unit to soak up the damage. Most damage were done by Archaon and the Horsemasters, a very powerful unit with their great missile strength, decent melee stats, just charging into combat if they can't use their missiles. And if you want to break something quickly and they're low on leadership, just throw these guys into battle. Use their rear charge attack to quickly rout them off with the charge impact, and you're profiting. Just simply profit. Yeah, the rest of the army not much damage either, but yeah. So quite unfortunate for Eltharian Shades, and very, very good game to Strike Games. Okay, we can probably do one or two more game. They're overpriced for 300 at least. Yep, they're definitely overpriced, but yeah, very. I don't really like Khorne right now for what they are. They just kind of sucks, honestly. What else? Trench Master. Ooh, we haven't seen Dowie, so let's check this one out. Yeah, let's check this one out. This is gonna be a. I feel like I have a bad feeling about this. This is gonna feel like a long drag, but let's see what happens. Rock and stone indeed, rock and stone. Speaking of rock and stone, isn't rock and stone... It suits the other dwarfs as well, since they are literally turning to stone. Some of them, at least. So, army build over here. Miners with blasting charges in front. At the back, longbeards. Dwarf warriors and more longbeards. Actually. Okay, so, army builds, and a few more quarrelers for their long-range firepower. What else? Cannons, 2 of them, in fact. Ulfla's raiders, and then slayers protecting the cannons, more slayers on the flanks, more longbeards just to hold enemy back. For the army, for the leader of the army, Belagar Ironhammer, backed up by Ulfla's raiders. For the Lizardmen Ripper-Dactyl Riders, we're seeing quite a bit of them this time. 3 of them, in fact, no Colossodon Hunters because you don't need anti-large in general. Against Floric, unless, but either ways. 2 Ancient Salamander and a Distraction Carnifex, the Shredder of Lustria. Interesting. Bring a large monster like this against the Dawi. And what else? Skin cohorts with javelins spread it around the battlefield, and a single Slaanesh Priest of Life. So the Shredder, using its super tanky HP pool, just goes straight into combat, pushing straight through all the Dawi formations, and now the Ripper-Dactyl Riders are flooding in. Oh shit, give me a second, something is on in the background. Okay, there we go. And the Shredder of Lustria just plows straight into melee combat, into the backline here, breaking one of the cannon, paying a heavy price with half of their HP. And then the Ancient Salamander, with all the missile units kind of distracted by this Distraction Carnifex, will be blasting away at the Ulfla's Raiders. Skin cohorts with javelins, chucking javelins at miners. Not the greatest units you chuck their javelins at, but oh well. It's probably better he just used them before your unit got routed. Anyway, Shredder is getting regrowth, topping up its health, just really abusing its massive HP pool here. While it's getting like heals, absorbing the damage, using the heavy armor of missile resistance, just holding on. Plus, oh right, he does have dread aversion, providing -8 leadership to surrounding units, making them easier to be routed. Now the Ripper-Dactyl Riders charge in, rout off some of the cannon crew and rangers, but the problem is that they're surrounded by slayers, and they're a relatively squishy unit with only 25 melee defense and not much armor, so they're dragged down by those anti-large attacks and ripped to them. But at the same time, the Ancient Salamander are free to circle around and blasting away. Yeah, did some pretty nice damage on one of them. The other Ripper-Dactyl, one of the only... I was about to say the only surviving Ripper-Dactyl, but there's one surviving afar. The other one here is routing off, breaking through some Quarrelers, doing some pretty nice damage. The Quarrelers can't really fight back against the janky models of Ripper-Dactyls. And now they're just trying to hit around the back lines of Dawi. Breaking cannons crew after cannon crew, trying to make sure they're not coming back, while the Shredder is now back to 3/4 of HP. Oh god. Ugh. Ugh. And the life Slaan Mage plus a Shredder is just such a potent combo in terms of sheer healing. While the Ancient Salamanders are indeed constantly kiting. While these Ripper-Dactyls are not getting caught in melee, just trying to stay mobile, stay moving, and keep routing off units that try to return. Same goes for these guys, Ripper-Dactyls, but it seems that they're dragged down quite a bit by the sheer mass of Dwarf Warriors. They can't really pull through, while the Shredder of Lustria is just using the machine guns to its benefit. Just blasting away at... yeah, just point-blank shooting at Belagar. Over here, Banishment plus a little bit of Ancient Salamander kiting fire is blasting away at the Quarrelers. Ripper-Dactyls keep routing their Quarrelers, breaking their backs, and yeah. Yeah, skin cohorts pushing, pulling back. We need an animation where the Shredder of Lustria straight up eats the Lord if the next hit would kill the Lord. I think there are monsters with this kind of animation. I forgot which though. And Belagar Ironhammer is not enjoying this fight against the Shredder of Lustria at all. Marked by Ogre is lowering his missile resistance and armor and missile block chance, but that's not gonna help Belagar. The burst damage from the tattered Othor's Raider is not gonna break the Shredder of Lustria, and there's really not much that can threaten the Shredder other than the cannon crew. Actually got remanned, but then seeing the Ripper projectiles are so close by, these guys are running for their lives. Rip. And Belagar is also soon gonna be routed. I mean, soon gonna be destroyed, eaten up alive. Slaanesh Priest of Life is fighting in the middle of a puddle of Dwarf warriors. Oh shit! I turned off the blood effect. Ah well, I'll deal with it later. Shred off last. Actually, I'll just do it now. Can't fight without. Wait, where's the blood? Wait, did I? Is there no blood effect? Pro quality. Corpse lifespan. Wait, I do have the blood effect on. Why is there no blood? What the fuck? Yeah, there's no blood on these things whatsoever. What the fuck? Ugh. I'll deal with it later. Anyways. Although it does help that it's not as messy and it's easier to look at. Anyways, Ripper projectiles constantly pressuring the Quarrelers, not giving them the time to stand and fire, while Belagar is soon to be dead. And the units blobbing up around the Slaanesh are doing damage to him, but also providing a perfect opportunity for the Ancient Salamander to keep kiting and keep shooting. So Belagar is going down. The Shredder of Lustria is almost at his heal cap. Definitely going to hit the heal cap after the regrowth is done. There's still some Slayers fighting around, but Belagar is dead. And Balance of Power is against the Dowie, which is pretty much the case. There's nothing to deal with Shredder. Even the Slayers, due to their lack of armor piercing, would struggle. And the Shredder can simply pull through their formations, if anything, and allow the Ancient Salamander to kite them to death. And there are still two very relatively healthy skin cohorts with javelins here, chugging their javelins at whatever units they can find. But yeah. Longbeard surrounding Shredder of Lustria. There's some Coreless shooting, but I don't know what can finish off the Shredder at this point. I doubt anything can finish the Shredder, and especially with all the infantry being kited. Oh, that's a friendly fire. If I see one there. Yeah. If they can finish... Yeah, the infantry is going to finish up by the combination of kiting fire from the Ancient Salamander and getting eaten alive by the sheer charge attack of the Shredder of Lustria. Oh god. And more miners are dead from the banishment, the bound banishment from the Slaanesh Priest of Life. Shredder still fighting. And fighting pretty happily, eating up tin cans. Canned food, you know. There's a bit of stuttering with this replay for some reason. I'm pretty sure it's not my laptop. Anyways. Perhaps it's this? Well, I'll do it later. Yeah, well. Anyways, yeah, the remaining Dowie units are routed off by rear charges from the Projectile Riders. The Dowies are trying hard to regroup their units, but every time there's something routed, they'll be chased off to the edge of the map by the Rippers. And whatever that tries to regroup will be just bulldozed through by the Shredder of Lustria, who is... yeah, who's done with healing for sure. No more healing for him. Still 400 more HP, but that's not really important here. And he's just kind of plowing for everything. There's not really much the Dowie can do, and they will be destroyed. Khorne won't like those Dwarfs. They They definitely don't. Yeah, Jean Pasteur. Jean Pastex. That's the. I don't know whether I should pronounce it in French or English, since ODM is a French clan. I don't know. Jean Pastex. But yeah. Value-wise, a very good shutdown from the Treasure of Lustria, applying straight through the Dowie formations using its bulky HP and bulky mass as an advantage, tanking all the damage and bulldoze their way straight into the backline, shutting down the cannons, and then just heal it back up. A very nice use of the Treasure of Lustria here, and the lack of thunders did help the Lizardmen a lot. While the Longbeards not doing much here, they are just chasing after the mobile units of the Dowie for the entire time. So I'm not gonna lie, a pretty degenerate build, but I love it from the Lizardmen, of course. The Crawlers, 2 of them did some solid damage. 1 of them did okay, but yeah, not quite enough to carry the game. Same goes for the Ulfos Raiders. The Infantry have very minor damage. One of the Slayers shredded some of these Ripper Dactyl Riders, but the other not so much. Just failed to catch up with the Ripper Dactyls. While the Lizardmen Shredder carrying the game, the 2 Ancient Salamander did some solid damage with their kiting. It's a pretty popular tactic after all. Ripper Dactyl Riders, 2 of them shut down. These 2 shut down a cannon and did some damage to some of the missile infantry, I suppose. And this one did some solid damage, shutting down a cannon. They probably didn't shut down a cannon. They just flew around and route off, chase down routed units. But yeah, Shredder. Shredder, man. Shredder! Giant Slayers are much better versus Lizardmen. Indeed, they are. Versus even Saurus. Their armor piercing are just handy. Okay, one last replay for the day. Hopefully not. I don't want to look at a Lizardman again, since we did have a lot of Lizardmen recently. Okay, let's just do this. I'm not sure. Okay, Slaanesh or Tomb Kings? That's the real question here. Like, I have time for like 1 more game, so it's either a Slaanesh game or a Tomb Kings game. Past Ezreal games. Sure. Tomb Kings versus... Okay. We only have like 8 people here, so... Fuck it, I'll just cast both. Ugh. Doesn't matter. Let's go. Let's be efficient with this. Okay. Let's do Norska versus Tomb Kings first. It's a lot of armor. It's a lot of... it's not a lot of armor debuff. Mostly just Burning Head against Skeleton Infantry frontline, and using the Norscan infantry to blend through everything. And then... yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so army build, Marauder Champions in the middle as a solid center. On the flanks, Marauder Berserkers to bust through the flank defenses, and more Marauders. And then there are some mobility, Beast of Tashna, 2 Skin Wolves, and a Norscan Ice Wolf. Plus 3 Javelin Throwers, and a single Shaman Sorcerer of Fire with Burning Head and Fireball. Leading the army, Wolfric the Wanderer coming in with his boat, Seafang, and also his Hunter of Champions. While the Tomb King's army, who is already kiting away with the Ushati with Great Bow shooting, did some nice damage to the Marauder Champions, but they are not protected by any infantry right now. So the Beast of Tashna will simply charge in and stop them shooting. Especially the Chosen of the Gods, who are a great threat. And wow, charge damage is already quite noticeable with just a few seconds of contact. Yeah, but after the Chosen of the Gods pull back and the Necro Horsemen push in, the Beasts of Tashnar pull back, but then in their place, Skin Wolves are charging in with their anti-large attacks. In the front line, Arkan the Black dropping in Skeleton Warrior Summon, trying to slow down enemy push, while the Chariots, the Shaptis with Great Bows are pulling back into safety, hoping to fire once more. But this is a major problem here. Arkan the Black isn't that tanky, especially when debuffed by Hunter of Champions, taking quite a bit of damage. Although surrounded by enemy units, somehow Wolfric is struggling to get through and get onto Arkan the Black. Now, Berserkers blending their way through Skeleton Warriors, Champions, Dumpstering Warriors, Skeleton Warriors, and Necro Horsemen in combat, while Berserkers are now flooding towards the back line, which the Skeleton Warriors do not have enough width and numbers to slow them down, especially with a burning head here. The Achilles heels of Tomb Kings doing significant damage to the skeleton front line. The Kepler Guard are still holding, but they can only hold back so much stuff at the same time. And also a very devastating Sea Fang, doing some nice damage overall. While the front line here, Arkan the Black is still blobbed up among a bunch of anti-large units, infantry unit, surrounded by Norskan Warhounds, Ice Wolves. Oof. Things are looking rough for the Tomb King's Lord. And there's a lot of friendly fire coming in and destroying their own units here. Like, you can see the Chosen of the Gods are not shooting at enemy units, they're shooting at the goddamn Necro Horsemen, destroying their own skeleton. Yeah. So very unlucky for the Tomb Kings, taking a lot of friendly fire damage, but the Shati with Great Bows at the back, a lot of them have stabilized and continuously fire, but then the lack of skeletons really biting them in the back here. Marauder Berserkers able to start going through the gaps and through the flanks and now threaten them, drag them into melee. Javelin also chipping away their health with the anti-large shots, who does have pretty decent anti-large and armor-piercing value, just one less than the Horse Masters. Another Burning Hat roasting the remaining Skeleton Warriors. Yeah. So, Wolfric the Wanderer being drained away by Spirit Leech, and not exactly the greatest threat to him. Yeah, he doesn't regenerate at all, but he still has quite a bit of HP left, and Arkan the Black is hit by Hunter of Champions, debuffing his armor, melee defense, and all that, and he is gonna get hit hard. While the Norskan frontline are blending their way through the skeleton infantry, and a lot of these Shaptis have been compromised for quite a while. These guys are still shooting, but the Chosen of the Gods down to 8 models and around a quarter of their HP, and more Beasts of Tashnar coming in. They're not charging? Probably just lost the attack order. But anyways, more Burning Head, chipping away the health of the Kepler Guard, while more stuff is just flooding the Tomb King's backline. Balance of power is in the favor of the Norskins, especially with something inflating the Tomb King's balance of power. Well, right now, this looks really bad for the Tomb Kings. These Shapti summons are going to be gone soon, and the Chosen of the Gods are now continuously losing HP from crumbling and also from enemy attacks. One final bolt onto the Kepler Guard, and the Kepler Guard will soon be down for the count here. The physical resistance from the Rage ability doesn't really help against the Kepler Guard, who does have magic attack, but the Rage ability does buff their attack damage, so they have more attack, more leadership, so that means they trade better against the Kepler Guard, who doesn't have the greatest armor at 70, and the massive weapon strength at... Anyways. And with the Shaptis all here, like, compromised and destroyed, Arkan the Black he's not gonna turn around this engagement by himself, so there goes. The champions did some really good damage here, cutting down a lot of skeletons, and probably did some good damage against the Kepler Guard as well. Single entities not so much. Wolfric took a lot of damage from the Spirit Leech and the Shaman Sorcerer of Fire. The Burning Heads are not the greatest here because the formations are completely messed up by the push of the Norska. Infantry-wise, the Berserkers did okay. The Skin Wolves did okay. This one did really well. What else? Beast of Tashnar did some solid damage against the Chosen of the Gods at the beginning, and also constantly dragging down enemy units with their anti-large. Norskan Ice Wolves almost 800 gold worth of damage value, so pretty decent stuff. Javelins not so much, as they probably were heavily focused by the Tomb King's firepower. They are indeed the most threatening unit against those Shaptis, but with them drawing away the firepower, the rest of the units like Skin Wolves, infantry, can push and grind through the Tomb King's infantry and get onto the missile backline. For the Tomb King's army, Arcane the Black did some decent damage with the Spirit Leeches, but not the most amazing. Chosen of the Gods, Ushaptis, they all got compromised way too easily. There's just not enough stuff to handle the spam of mobility, the spam of Norskan mobility. It's pretty nasty to deal with, to be fair. It's so weird to have Norska either winning or even in most matchup nowadays compared to Warhammer 2. It is indeed. They used to be the weak faction, but I think it's mostly because the regeneration buff really benefited Skin Wolves and the Trolls, especially Throg the Troll King. And they just have a solid unit overall, and also the changes to the Berserk ability. Yeah, I think so. I think that might also be a thing, because like Berserk ability used to be activated in stages. Now you just activate it, and it's like 100% in effect after you engage in melee for a prolonged period of time. So you don't have to wait for it to activate. For example, 5% physical resistance, 8%, 10%. It doesn't. You don't need that anymore. It just goes straight to 100. It just goes straight to full activation of the ability, and then it benefits their stuff in late game because you don't have to wait. Yeah. Norska always has a good time versus Tomb Kings and Lizardmen. To be fair, yeah, indeed. With the Javelins and the Burning Head, it really favors them against the Tomb Kings. Just hunt them. Just clear everything. Just go whoosh with the Burning Head and hunt down everything else with anti-large attacks. What else? Marauder Chieftain with the Flaming Axe of Cormac. It can be good against the Tomb King's Lords, but Wolfrek is still a solid melee combatant with additional AoE damage ability. So, plus if you buff it with, if you combine him with say Metal Mage, who provide Plague of Rust, which combines with his Hunter of Champions, that's a minus 90 armor debuff. So whatever armor you have, ding dong, it's gone. But yeah, for the Tomb King's army, Chariots somehow earned back their value? What the fuck? Your Chariots, what the fuck? You're not supposed to do damage here, what? Anyways, rest of the Skeletons being Skeletons, not much, and Kepler Guard sucked here. They don't have enough armor piercing to punch through the armor of the Marauder Champions, and the Marauder Champions also have very heavy melee defense, and they just struggled. So, rip Kepler Guard. One more unit, one last replay. We might have to end on a Slaanesh versus Dark Elf note. But it is what it is, since we did have a little bit of demand for Slaanesh, and we did not showcase Slaanesh this time. So, might as well, right? Yeah, we showcase basically everything except Slaanesh, I think. And it's almost, what, 3 hours of stream? So, pretty solid stuff. Did we miss any other faction? Like, we showcased Beastmen as well in early game. We don't have Bretonnians and we don't have Kislev simply because nobody plays them. But whatever else, I think we caught everything. Like, I can't. Yeah, I think we caught everything else. So, yeah. Let's go for... Oof, that's a lot of rushing. Let's take this one. So, army built. Front line of devoted marauders of Slaanesh. On the flanks, there are some Hellstriders and Seekers of Slaanesh. Some really solid unit. But I'm actually not sure how Slaanesh fares against Dark Elves in the matchup. I'm not a Dark Elf, nor am I a Slaanesh person. I'm mostly Ogres. And I didn't really have much time to play recently, so I'm not that familiar with these matchup. Bringers of Beguilement and 2 more Exalted Demon Nets. Now for the mobility here, Khorne Knights, Khorne Dread Knights, more Khorne Knights, and 2 units of Black Ark Corsairs for a bit of kiting plus firepower. In the front line, Witch Elves trying to blend through the Devoted Marauders alongside with some Black Ark Corsairs. The armor can be quite useful in this matchup against the Marauders, but against Bringers of Beguilement, not so much. Black Ark Corsairs are doing some nice counter damage, counter-firing damage to the Marauder Horsemen of Slaanesh. And yeah. Oh, a Whip of Slaanesh. The Dark Elves and the Slaanesh are just trading blow with their missile and magic. Yeah, trading blows with missiles and magic right now. And the Bringers of Beguilement did some really good damage against the Black Ark Corsairs, but they got hit hard by the Gaze of Malice. On the flank here, Seekers are probably hit hard on the Khorne Dread Knights, and they are now chasing after Khorne Dread Knights while forcing the Khorne Knights to back away, with the Exalted Demons chasing after them. But at least the frontline engagement has gone in the favor of the Dark Elf army, managing to push back all the devoted marauders, while the Khorne Knights are now counter-charging. The Dread Knights are gone for sure, but at least there's still some Black Ark Corsairs providing a bit of fire cover. But unfortunately, Seekers right here are chasing down the Black Ark Corsairs, forcing Malekith to come in to support. There's still a lot of infantry left for the Dark Elves, so giving them a slight advantage in terms of balance of power. But then the Black Ark Corsairs are falling, and they are falling quick. With the mobility completely gone, all the Khorne riders are destroyed by the faster and stronger mobility of Slaanesh. This is looking quite finicky for the Dark Elf army. But this is not an easy game for the Slaanesh, because all their infantry is gone, and there's more resources for the Dark Elves to counteract any of their mobility charges and whatnot. Just countercharge them, and then they will be suffering. Now, Exalted Demonets of Slaanesh are charging straight into Witch Elves and Black Ark Corsairs, alongside with the support of Hellstriders. Oof, there's a bit of a lagging here. Not sure why, but pretty sure it's not a technical issue. It's more like a replay file issue. Sometimes it does that for some reason. But anyways, it's a huge block fight here. Really fast paced, actually. All these Witch Elves, Black Ark Corsairs are engaging, but they're quickly breaking under the weight of all these armor-piercing and just simply superior melee troops. Azazel is dropping in. Wait, we have that. Azazel is dropping in. Being drained by souls. Yeah, Azazel is dropping in, trying to hunt down Malekith, but Malekith just hits him hard as he has turned around and is facing him, and he has no more melee. Oh shit! And Madness of Cain reducing his melee defenses. And he does not have that bonus, and he no longer has those double bonus, charge bonus anymore, since Malekith is facing him. And it's just a huge blob of stuff surrounding Malekith, beating him down, poking him with the armor piercing, which is a great thing for the Slaanesh army. The rest of the Dark Elf army has been mopped up by the sheer number of Slaanesh forces. There's still some Black Ark Corsairs who are attempting to kite, but Azazel will come in and make sure that's not going to happen for much longer. There's still some Black Ark Corsairs coming in to support, but Malekith is getting lower and lower, being dragged down by all these armor-piercing troops. His stats is lowered in terms of charm, in terms of acquiescence, and also poison, and that shatters Malekith from all the shock damage, and there goes the Witch King. Oh, cast Azrael games, not Azazel games. Alright, let's see if we have any Azrael games around the replays. I haven't checked everything. So anyways, army performances. Damn, the Exalted Daemonites just did well. I mean, this one not so much, being blasted by Gaze of Malice and whatnot, but with the with the Seekers and the Hell's Riders overwhelming the Dark Elf mobility, there's little left to counteract them. And they just freely run down everything on the Dark Elf side. Even Malekith, once they got surrounded by the Seekers being debuffed by the Charmed effect and then hit hard by all those armor piercing from behind, from the side, Malekith, proud as he is, he just got wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. The infantry, though, not doing great. Did okay. Not the best, but not the worst either. Azazel didn't do much damage, but it's okay, because the Seekers carried the game. Now, the Dark Elves, Malekith did some solid damage. Dread Knights, Khorne Knights, very limited damage value. Black Arquebuses got hit pretty bad by everything. By all the armor-piercing Daemonites. They just don't get a good trade against Daemonites in general. They would trade well against defaulted Marauders, but again, Daemonites, they're Bane. They don't have good enough stats, while the Daemonites have really good stats to punch through their defenses and armor with their armor piercing. Black Arquebuses did pretty decent. And yeah, pretty unfortunate for the Dark Elves, but it seems that Slaanesh might actually have the upper hand in this matchup. So yeah, oh, Azrael. We have some Azrael games. Let's see what to... Let's see. I don't want to check Tomb King. Well, let's check this one. We do have some grenade launchers, so let's check this one last game and then I'm gonna go. Azrael versus General Eisenbart. One very mobile army and one rather static but also very strong missile army. So we'll see what happens here. Although I'm not sure whether Skull Crusher is a good idea in this matchup. There's just too much armor piercing firepower to shoot them down. Replace for the replace god. Yeah, I do have to be done after this replay because I'm hungry, my throat is tired, and yeah. Anyways, let's get this started. War wagons. Okay, army builds. War wagons. 3 free company militia. One of them Sterling's Revenge. A single Outriders, providing some anti-infantry firepower, perfect against any marauders and whatnot. Empire Knights already countercharging a bunch of Chaos Warhounds, trying to give them a shock damage, rout them early, and some are even getting onto the Marauder Horsemen. Spears on the flank providing support, and Warhounds tying down Free Company Militia, more Spears, Empire Knights, and yeah, that's about it. A Huntsman General leading the army, supported by an Amethyst Wizard with Fate of Buna and Spirit Leech. As for the Chaos Army, Skull Crushers getting crushed by a combination of armor-piercing fire, 3 War Wagons plus the Sterling's Revenge, putting them down to half HP. They need to be held back instead of putting them so far up ahead. They're just gonna get shredded by all those firepower. Anyways, Marauders pushing a whole line of Marauders, really. Some of them, a single Chaos Sorcerer of Metal, a single Marauders of Slaanesh with Hell Scourges, Forsaken trying to drag down the Sterling's Revenge, but they're also getting hit hard by the armor-piercing missiles. And the Skull Crushers are already thinking of routing, going back home and all that. They are still engaging in melee combat, but only 7 leadership, still dropping as they're taking more and more damage, but they are doing some very effective damage in return. God. Now half a unit of Empire Knights are gone, more are continuing to drop, but things are not looking great for the Skull Crushers. Chaos Lord also pushing in, hoping to threaten the War Wagons, but this might not be the greatest course of action. Now the War Wagons simply switch their shots onto the Chaos Warlord here. While Skull Crushers, supported by Marauders, are trying to beat back the remaining Empire Knights, and the Spears are fighting through the Slaanesh Marauders with the support of Outriders here, blasting away Forsaken, blasting away Marauders, and there's just not much to threaten them, as a lot of Warhounds were expended on trying to push back the Free Company Militia over here. They're still fighting, but things are not looking great for the Chaos Army here. Balance of power in the favor of the Empire Army, and all 3 War Wagons are still very healthy, keep shooting, and yeah, they're just opening up at whatever Chaos units they can find. And there's just nothing to shut down the Outriders over here. And the entire infantry push on this flank is completely shut down. 2 forgotten units of Marauder Horsemen on the side as well. Things are not looking great, but they're still going. Field of Buna slowly draining the health of the Chaos Lord. He's low in health already, and further damage will put him in a more disadvantaged position. War Wagons, Sterling's Revenge opening up at the Marauders, and Marauder Horses making sure keep adding in chip damage onto them. Skull Crushers trying to hit them from behind, but they can simply scoot away while giving them a volley of warm welcome of hot lead, which they're immediately doing, chipping away the health. They are getting into melee combat, but they are struggling to make contact as the War Wagons are now moving away from melee combat, and instead they will be flooded by a whole lot of Empire Knights. Even the Skull Crushers, elite as they are, will be crushed by a sand-waging charge. They'll be routed and possibly shattered as they're so close to the white line, probably just not going to come back. Actually, they can't even get most of their models out of the surround, so yeah, I doubt they will be returning. Searing Doom dropping in here, but probably just hitting more Warhounds than actual Empire Knights. And the Marauder Horsemen are still trying to counter-shoot the Free Company Militia. They should just charge in and rout them off, but well. Chaos Lord hit by another Spirit Leech. He's buffed by his ability Stand or Die, Aether Sword and all that, but that's not going to save him. Yeah. There's still a lot of infantry on the ground, but I don't know if there's enough to deal with all these War Wagons. They're just scooting and shooting and enjoying their life. While the Chaos Lord is pretty much on his last legs. We'll be fast forwarding a bit here, as the remaining infantry over here should be able to clean up by the Outriders with grenade launchers. Over here, Spirit Leech consistently draining away the hit points of the Chaos Lord, and he will be finished off by a few shots from the War Wagons. Without the Lord, army losses hit, and that shall be the end of the Chaos Army. Alright, last replay. That is actually literally the last replay I'm gonna do today. No more replays. Stop it. I need to cook and grab dinner. Like I'm just done with moving and I'm tired. I mean, as in I'm done with moving, assembling furniture over the past few days, and I'm taking a break after this and resting, and then I'll be dropping Chaos Dwarf content afterwards. But yeah, I don't know when that's gonna be, so you guys gotta have to wait. And yeah, that's gonna be it for tonight. We have some pretty good solid replays and pretty fun army builds. No, dog, I'm not casting one more. Stop. I need to preserve some of my strength and for tomorrow and the day after, and eventually Chaos Dwarf arrival. So yeah, that should be it for tonight. Anyways, army performances: Outriders 1100 gold worth of damage value. Pretty solid damage value on the Amethyst Wizard as well. War Wagons, they're actually surprisingly low in terms of damage value, but they only use like half their ammo, so not bad. Starline's Revenge earned back their cost. The 2 Free Company Militia are pretty decent as well. Swordsmen did... The state troops in general did meh. Some swordsmen did okay, but that's about it. While the Empire Knights did meh as well. Not a lot of damage overall from the Empire, but I assume it's because of how well the army got conserved in terms of HP. That just basically crushed the Warriors of Chaos in terms of balance of power, because everything on the Warriors' end is so low in HP. Like, yeah. Or did they just... Oh, yeah. Especially with the Chaos Lord dying in the end there. Not a lot of damage value from the Lords and all that, and characters. The Forsaken did slightly better, but not that much. The Marauder Horsemen, meh, in terms of performance. The Marauders infantry also pretty bad, and they mostly got wrecked and routed off the field. So yeah, that shall be all for tonight, or evening, or morning, wherever you are. I'll see you in the Chaos Dwarf DLC, as I am tired and I shall retire for the day. Make some food. Yeah. Time to satisfy the Great Maul, which i.e. my belly. Yeah. thanks for watching, guys. Thank you for your support, and we're so close to 1,000. Yay! But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you all have a great day, night, wherever, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. And yeah. Well, I'll see you in the Chaos of DLC. Tactical Lich signing out.